All right, kids, today it's story time with a former enforcer for the Italian Mafia. I don't want to spoil anything here. There's a lot of interesting stuff, stories galore, from securities fraud to the assassination of the Pope. Yes, you heard me right. Here we go with Anthony Salvatore Luciano Raimondi, the enforcer. First things first, the Mafia was the family business, right? Your grandfather and family were in the Black Hand. Can you kind of take me through that?
Both my grandfathers.
Both of them. Okay. Can you take us through what that is? Because I don't think a lot of people have heard of the Black Hand.
The Black Hand, that was what you would call the original Mafia. These guys here were totally different than wise guys that you have nowadays. Totally different thing. These are the type of guys that when they used to send a thing, they send an image of a black hand. That's why they called it that. That was a death sentence. But they were the type of guys that if they had a problem, they went out, they took care of it, that was it. They didn't run to no captain, no lieutenant, even the boss of the family, the boss, like whoever the heads were of the Black Hand. If they had a problem, they went out themselves and they took care of it. Over here, you got to go. If you're a regular button, you got to go to your lieutenant or your captain. Then he is okay, but then he's got to go see the underboss or the boss, make sure it's all right, and then go ahead and go do it. That it's totally different over here in the United States.
So the Black Hand is like old school Sicilian Mafia.
The Black Hand is, let's put it this way, if they don't get you, they'll kill your whole family.
So they're from the old country, not from the United States.
You got very few of them that are here in the United States, and they particularly don't like the American, say, if you want to call it American Mafia or whatever it is, because they think they're a bunch of morons with the way they do things.
Why did they change the rules when they got here? Or when they... Why did
as time goes by, they change the rules to suit themselves. Like years ago, you were in the crew, okay? So you had a lieutenant or a captain that you reported to. You earned money, you gave an end to them, they took their end, they kicked the end upstairs. Fine. You were in there for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 10 years, maybe even longer, before they put you up for membership. They made sure, that you were the right guy. Now, in between that time, maybe they would tell you, listen, we got a problem over here with this guy, go take care of it. So you go to see the guy, and hey, you put him in the hospital, and they see how you react. No two ways about you put him in the hospital. You broke a guy's legs, you broke his jaw, whatever it was. Then if they seen you did good with that, if they knew they could trust you, let me put it that way, then sometimes a guy will put you up for membership. But the original deal to become a member is you had to go out and do a piece of work. And they took 2 other wise guys with you, like, one other wise guy with you. You got to do a piece of work, which meant you had to do a hit. If you did it, they came back and said he did it, he did the right thing, so on and so forth, fine. If you froze up or you didn't do it, the guy who was with you will clip you and the guy he had to get clipped.
Oh, wow.
Now they're just making guys because I'm going out with your sister. Okay, so your uncle's a big shot. Or you're the big shot. I'm going with your sister. Well, Anthony, I'm bringing him over here with me. I'm straightening him out. But what did I do to prove anything? Nothing. Didn't do a damn thing. Or the cousin is hanging out with somebody. Somebody's going out with your aunt. Somebody's going out with your uncle, and so on. That's what they're doing. Meanwhile, if you see all these guys that they were making, they all turned out to be stupids and testified in court against everybody.
So it's not the same as it used to be back when you started,
No.
Obviously. It's completely different. Yeah.
Totally different ballgame.
By the way, I saw that the Italian mob or mafia is called the Cosa Nostra. Was the Jewish mafia really called the Kosher Nostra, or did you just make that up and put that in the book?
That I put it up with Maya, because me and Maya used to joke around and call it that. Me and Maya Lansky used to joke around and call it the Kosher Nostra. Because Maya used to joke around and says, we got to kill him in the kosher way. What the fuck you talking about? We got to kill him in the kosher way. He goes, we bless him first and then we kill him. Because I became a rabbi so I could bless him then kill him. I used to laugh when he used to tell me this. But Maya did a lot of work, let me tell you. He was some piece of work, this guy. Maya, he was one of my favorites.
It's funny to see him in movies because he's usually depicted as this like old Jewish guy who's watching TV in a recliner and then is like having your wife make a sandwich for you, like an accountant or something. But he wasn't that at all.
That's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Maya, Maya was a genius. He was the master of the shakedown. He taught me how to shake down I could shake it down in 1,000 different ways with this guy. He taught me how to shake a person down. They could scream, they could yell, but in the end, they're going to come up with that envelope. Maya was a shakedown, master of the shakedown. Maya in the rackets, he was a genius. Knew what to do with the money, how to make it, but what everybody doesn't realize, Maya did his own work. He didn't get somebody else to do his own work. He went out and did it himself. Maya buried a lot of men. And I mean, literally, he buried them.
The stereotype is throwing him in the river, but that wasn't his style?
Yeah, it depends. You don't throw him in a river. I mean, you got to put a guy in the ocean, you wrap him up, put chains and weights on him, you dump him over the side of a boat in the water. You got to punch a couple of holes in him, though, so that the gases in the body don't make him float up.
Oh, yeah.
Either that, you bury him somewhere, you throw him in concrete. This is what they all did. There's a lot of sites around the city. I guarantee if they ever open them up, they'll find a lot of skeletons inside. And it ain't from the workers that work there.
Like in the foundation of the building?
Yeah, the foundations, the flooring. Just like years ago, they had my cousin Leo had a funeral parlor called Cobble Hill Funeral Parlor. It was Guide Hill Funeral Parlor. They used to bury 2 guys at a time in a coffin.
Just to save money?
No. Your save is a member of your family died, right?
Right,
Say a member of your family died, and they got a word that they just whacked the guy. They bring him over to Leo. They would take the guy out of the coffin, take out the spring, throw the guy in there, put the bedding down, put the guy on top of him, and he gets buried.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's funny. You can tell how my brain works. I'm like, oh yeah, 2 guys in one coffin save money, and it's like, no, dummy. They're putting the guy that's not supposed to be dead in the coffin, and the other guy, to get rid of the body. The guy
really dead goes in the coffin.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, what did your relatives do? They had kind of like real jobs, but they also had their fake jobs, right?
No, they were all fake jobs.
All fake jobs.
I mean, they had jobs, where they were on the books. And whoever owned the company or whatever was with them. So they put him on the books. Yeah, this is what he's taking home $1,000 a week, $500 a week. Meanwhile, you never have to show up on the job because they tell you, oh, he's out on the field. Mm-hmm. You're at the social club. We're at the social club hanging out.
Okay, so
that was the easiest thing.
They say, or this guy works at the loading docks or something like that. Oh yeah, he's moving some boxes, whatever, because the employer just keeps him on the books, and that's how he supposedly gets paid for tax reasons or whatever. But he's running around town doing stuff.
But the employer is with, let's say like it was you, the employer is with you. So you're his guy. So if he has any problems, he has to come to you. So he puts you on the record on books to cover yourself with the tax department.
Okay, that makes sense. And then in meanwhile, if it's my company, then I have any issues, I go, hey man, I got this issue with these guys coming down and robbing they're stealing the fish or whatever. And then
because you belong to him. You belong to him, so he handles whatever problems you may have.
Now, what you mentioned different sort of like lines of work. Loan sharking, I think a lot of people know what that is. Oh, yeah. What shylocking, which is like a funny sort of racist way.
It's the same thing. Loan sharking, shylocking is the same thing.
Okay. What else? The gambling, right, was one of them. Had to be
gambling, card games, poker. You had horse races. You had numbers betting. You had sports betting. You had numbers. You had after-hour clubs, legitimate clubs that you had a piece of. Like in my book, too, I tell about all the clubs that I shook down in Manhattan. I shook down every big major club in Manhattan. I shook them down. And I had a Shylock business going there from Studio 54 to Regine's to the Electric Circus to New York, all of them. I had a Shylock business. Back then, I had about $250,000 on the street in these clubs alone.
Yeah, how much?
$250,000.
And is that like a monthly collection? Is that what you mean?
Oh, hell no. Every week I got my interest on that money. What are you kidding? 4% every week of $250,000, like clockwork, like that.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, I even shook down the tunnel, Peter Gation's joint. Although Peter might want to give me an argument about it, but, I don't want to take his other eye out. And then he had his friend Boza, who thought he was such a tough guy when I went there. And this is in book 2, and I did what I had to do, and the union stopped all the work that he was doing there. And then one thing led to another, and guess what? They saw the light. I wound up doing business over there, and they should get an envelope.
So is the money literally in an envelope?
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm not going to hand you cash like that. I don't want to hand you cash like that. As a matter of fact, that's the first time I seen Vin Diesel was over there.
Really?
At the tunnel, yeah. He came over with Boza, and I was with a guy, Willie Light, who was a cousin to Maya. And I was talking, he came over, and I looked at him, And I told him, I just looked at him very nicely, and I turned around, but I said it so he could hear me. I told Bose and I told Willie Light, I says, this guy's got a lot of muscle. And he said, Willie says, yeah. I says, he goes to make a move. I'll put a fucking hole in him, excuse my language, that he can put a bowling ball through. That was the end of it. Just backed right up. Just backed up while I was talking to Boza.
That's funny. So was he trying? You think he was there to try to intimidate you? He's like friends with them,
No,
or was he just hanging out?
Boza told him to come with him. You understand? So he seen, but he knew something was up when he seen me and he seen Willie Light. He knew that I wasn't just some guy coming up there to see him. But I guess he wanted to see how far it would go. I mean, but he never opened his mouth and said a word. I'll tell you, he never opened up his mouth and said a word. But every time I used to go up there, I seen him. He was always nice. He was always a gentleman. I got to tell you the truth. Well, he was a bouncer up there. I used to walk in. They didn't bother checking me.
That makes sense. I mean, it doesn't. He's got bigger fish to fry than trying to pick fights with organized crime.
Well, he didn't know, but like all this is going in my book and book 2 that I'm doing now.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that. I read book 1. We'll link it up in the show notes, and we'll link.
Forget about book 1. Book 1, I've got to add more stories into it because I took it away from the publisher that I was at, and some publishers from L.A. want it, and they want me to put more stories, so we pulled it off the shelf. But I believe we can go to the printer or whoever, and you can get copies of the book. I'm going to put 7 more episodes in it, and they want to make the book bigger, and they want to do a book tour, book signings, and everything. Where the other company that I had, they do guts. They didn't do nothing. So they were a lot of nonsense. So I says, you know what? I want out of the contract. They were nice about it. They saw my what I wanted, and they gave me out of the contract with no problem.
Nice. Yeah, I can see why there's room for more. I think I read the whole book in like 3 hours. It's very short, so there's room for more. I want to go back to when you were a kid. You had your uncles. They had their, I guess, fake jobs. That they were loan sharking, working for the Black Hand and the Mafia. I assume your parents didn't want the gangster life for you, right? I mean, they wanted something different for you, but you were kind of getting in trouble.
All right. My father had 3 brothers. My Uncle Joe, my Uncle Nino, my Uncle Sal. They were all involved in something. All right. Now, my father, as far as I knew, he was a longshoreman. He went to work on the piers. He never wanted me to get involved with anything. But my uncles would come over to the house, especially my Uncle Sal, because he was my godfather. He was the youngest one. He was into everything. Shylock and Bookman, you name it, he did it. There was no problem. My Uncle Nino, he handled all the swag that was on the pier. My Uncle Joe was a Shylock. But these men, you never knew what they did. They all got up every morning and went down to the piers. They went down to the piers. They actually went to work, but they had their business on the side. But they come to the house, and then O'Neill comes. Uncle O'Neill used to come to the house. Frank Costello, Carmine Galenti, and all them. And you see them all with the rings, the money, wads of cash like this, $100. I want to do what you do. And that's how things started coming around. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to work for a living. I wanted to do what they were doing. That's where the money was. The money, because they would come on Baltic Street when my grandfather had the house. They double parked. The cops never bothered them. They'd leave it there for hours, double park, 4 or 5 cars, and come into the house to see my father and my grandfather. The cops never gave him a ticket. Not even the meter maids would give him a ticket. The sanitation guys used to come up the block. They couldn't pass with the truck. They'd back down the block and go away.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that appealed to you as a young guy, obviously, just to see the power that they had without even saying anything. Yeah,
Definitely.
Now, I know you got in trouble at school quite a bit. Were you doing that for fun, or was it like, if I piss off everyone enough, they'll just kick me out and I'll get my way and work with my uncles?
No, I didn't like going to school. I didn't like being in school. I always got into trouble. For one reason or another, I don't understand why, but I always got in trouble for something. Trouble always found me when I was in school.
Tell me about the kid who kept pricking you with the little pin.
Oh, Raymond. Yeah.
You still remember his name.
Raymond Cicerillo.
Oh, man.
Him and his brother Anthony were in St. Augustine School. They used to call his brother Nini. He was a good-looking kid. Raymond was tall, nice-looking kid. But the 2 brothers always thought who the frig they were. So he's sitting behind me in class, and he was sticking me with a pin. And Sister Ann Michelle was my nun, and she didn't like me. We used to call her Swinging Sam because she used to hit you with an open hand like this, knock you right out of the seat. Yeah, she was nuts. Every time I turned around to say something to Raymond, Raimondi in the back of the room with the books. I had to stand up all day carrying 40 pounds of friggin' books all day long. Go home for lunch, come back, and the same thing. So in St. Augustine, you had to wear a white shirt. So I come home one day. My mother says, "What's that on the back of your shirt?" I don't know. What's on the back of my shirt? She goes, "Looks like blood." I take the shirt off, and they looked at the T-shirt underneath, and there was blood. Well, I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened. First, so my father goes like this. He goes, "Come here." So I look in. He goes, "What's going on?" I said, "Pop, listen. This friggin' kid, Raymond Cicerillo, he keeps sticking me with a pin or something. And every time I turn around, I want to hit him. She turns around, Raimondi, in the back of the school, in the back of the classroom, carry all the books." My father says, he goes, "Yeah, go ahead." He goes, "Go clean up." He says, "No, I want to see you." I said, "All right." I go clean up after school. I come back. Gives me a pocket knife about this big. He goes, "Next time he sticks you with a pin," and I'll tell you my father's exact words. He goes, "Stab him in the fucking eye with this knife." I looked at my father. He says, "Don't worry about getting in trouble. And don't worry about Sister Ann Michelle." He goes, "You stab him in his eye." He goes, "I don't care what they do." That's okay. I had the knife for me. Sure enough, next day, Raymond with the pin. I said, "Raymond, stop. Stop, stop." I opened up the knife. He put his arm across. I stuck him right here, and I ripped open his whole arm. Sister Ann Michelle almost took about 10 heart attacks. The blood shot all over the blood all over the place. They had to wrap his arm to stop him from bleeding. This guy had, I think, like about 70, 80, 90 stitches he had going down his arm.
Oh, my God.
BS, cops come. They grab me. Okay. My father and my uncles go up to the precinct. I walk out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Next day, I'm back in school. Sister Ann Michelle looked at me, but I'll tell you one thing. I never stood in the back of the class no more with books. She never bothered me after that. And I knew, that's when you knew they had something. Now, what happened, they were going to press charges on me, because at that time you could press charges. So somebody went to talk to them. They said, "No, we're pressing charges." "Sure you know what you're doing?" "Yeah." "Okay." My cousin Mac, my Uncle Sal, my father was outside. Yeah, I know my father was there. And Maya was around at the time. They went to their house. They lived on, I think it was either Sackett or DeGraw Street they lived. Knocking on the door, no answer, they kicked the door in. They were sitting down having dinner. They walked in. My uncle put the gun down the father's throat. Turned around and told him, "You press charges, we come back and kill your whole family."
Oof.
"Drop the charges, don't press no charges, go about living your life. This kid gets picked up, gets one thing that," he goes, "Your kids, see the rest of your sons and your wife," he goes, "I'll kill everybody in the family here." End of story, and they walked out. Next day, I get a call, go back to the precinct, charges are dropped. Okay. I went back to school. Raymond, I saw the brother Anthony. He kept away from me. He seriously kept away from me. And then when Raymond came out of the hospital, he was able to go back to school. They had him, I was in the front, and they had him sitting on the other side all the way in the back. Because I told him, I said, "Next time you do it," I said, "I'll stab you in the eye with a pencil," I told him. I says, "The guy's sticking you in the same spot all the time with a pin. Not for nothing. I don't care how big, how small you are. Do that all day long, and you see what happens." He's like, he's just lucky. Let's put it that way. That's all he got.
I mean, I think even today that's like a cheap lesson. I mean, it sounds like he had a nasty gash on his arm, and obviously his parents got really scared.
Oh, no, this was no gash. His arm was ripped open.
Yeah.
This was no gash. This was ripped open. 70 stitches is ripped open.
I mean, if I'm stabbing somebody, I feel like you deserve to get your ass kicked. I mean, maybe, look, I'm sure it's legally, it's obviously not the same. Legally, it's an overreaction, but I mean, nowadays you're lucky you don't get killed for doing something horrible like that, stabbing somebody with a pen. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
You gotta, I don't know what that kid was thinking. And
he thought who the hell he was, him and his brother. They thought they were two tough guys because they were two brothers in the school together. They thought they were tough guys.
Yikes. I mean, that's terrifying. Did you end up graduating from high school, or did you leave school early?
I graduated grammar school. No, high school I didn't graduate from.
Do you ever see those guys around? I mean, they probably grew up in the same area as you, no? Never?
No, they moved out. The Cicerillos moved away.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they moved away.
Yeah, because I like, for stories like this, some of the kids that probably were that I was the worst to, and that were the worst to me in elementary school, are some of my closest friends now, because kids do stupid shit all the time.
Oh, no, I didn't want to be close with these kids, even if they wanted to be friends of mine. No, I had nothing to do with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does. Yeah, yikes. That's a mess. And your uncle said something really interesting. Like, your parents said stay away from, look, your uncles are into some bad stuff. You can hang out with them, but don't become like them. But it sounds like your uncles eventually convinced your dad, like, look, he's going to get in worse trouble if we're not around because you're trying to force him into the good guy track. He's obviously not in that track. Let him go with us so that he doesn't just go off the rails entirely. Am I kind of right? Have I got it right?
Yeah. What they did, my Uncle Frank had a house on Dean Street in Brooklyn. And he was in the cigarette business. He was what they called a cigarette bootlegger. A 40-foot trailer would come up to the block loaded with cigarettes, and they used to load them into this house that he had. So I kept getting into trouble. So my father and my Uncle Sal and my Uncle Frank, they took me to the house on Dean Street, and they says, you're going to see Cousin Mac. I said, okay. So I walk in, I see Mac. Hey, Cousin Mac, wait a minute. He cracked me across the side of my face. I thought my head was spinning like a friggin' top. Pulled out a gun. And he goes to me, do you think you could do this? He put the gun, he went to put it in my mouth halfway down. He said, you think you could kill somebody? And so on. He went on a tirade with this. I told him, if I can't be like you guys, you might as well pull the trigger. This is what I want to do. He hit me again after that. He went outside the room. He spoke with my father and my uncles, and they says, put him with him. He said, because if I would have went with another family or another crew of guys or whatever you want to call it, they said something could have happened to me. At least over here, I'm being watched. It's all family here. My cousin, uncles, everybody, we're all family over here. We watch out for each other. And that's how it started.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Because if you just got involved with some dumbass, like drug dealer punks, you could have ended up on the chopping block and they would have not been around to keep an eye on you.
Exactly. They would have walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Your uncle was no ordinary. I mean, he's one of the most famous, do you say mobsters, gangsters of all time? Uncle Lucky, yeah. So he took you everywhere, from what it sounds like.
When he was in the United States, every time he went someplace, I was only a baby. He would come and he'd drive. But see, here's the catch. What everybody doesn't... let me tell you something. A lot of people talk. I'm going to explain something to you. Uncle Lucky was my father's mother, my great-grandmother. That was her half-brother. Antonio, who was my great-grandfather, who was Lucky's father, he had an affair with a woman, and they had Nancy, which was my grandmother. You had Mary. You had Auntie Cumberlina, and you had Auntie Lucy. All right? There were 3 sisters. Now, my grandmother, Nancy, she was Lucky's half-sister. Lucky introduced her and my grandfather to each other, and they got married. But Lucky was my grandfather's cousin. My father's father was his cousin. So now it became like his brother-in-law. Then great-uncle Ralph, who was my father's uncle, he married Aunt Lucy and so on and so forth. Now, everybody talks about, they deported him. He never came back to the United States. A lot of bullshit. They deported him. When he knew my mother was giving birth to me, he came into the United States and he was in the hospital there when my mother gave birth to me. And he always came in 4 times a year. He came in either on plane or boat or whatever. They never stopped him from coming back in here. Every time he came in, where'd he come? Right to the house on Baltic Street. Who'd he take with him? He was just a drag. Even if I'm halfway sleeping, I'm just getting up in the morning, he's dragging me out of the house. Get dressed, dragging me out of the house, throwing me in the car with him. Just to stay in the car with him. He took me everywhere with him. Took me everywhere. Every time he came into the United States. Like I had one guy say, I met this woman, Barbara Maggione or Maggiore or something like that. Nice woman. She's out in L.A. She does books. She wrote a book on her father. I think The Odd Man Out it's called or something like that because he was in the ring as a referee. She goes, I got this guy. He's Lucky's illegitimate son. Just tell him to get in touch with me. I'm his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, he don't want to get in touch with you. It's my cousin. Why would he want to get in touch with me? Well, he says that Lucky, your Uncle Lucky, he was 100 years old when he died. Look, I said, what? She goes, yeah, he's saying that he was 100 years old, that Lucky never died. They moved him upstate New York. He got plastic surgery. I said, who's this guy? I said, this guy's a bullshit. I said, who's this guy? I said, first of all, let me explain 2 things here. One, my Uncle Lucky hated the cold. When he was in the hotel and he would come out, he had a car, had to be heated. He had a guy standing outside the door. There was a guy at the door. When he came out, he just went right out quick and into the car. That's number 1. He hated the cold. Number 2, me and my father and everybody were with him in Naples when he took a heart attack and died. So unless my uncle faked and held his breath for 3 or 4 days in that coffin and in the tomb, he's the greatest magician ever.
Yeah.
I think this guy's full of nonsense. Yeah, I'm your cousin. Why wouldn't you want to get in touch with me?
And
Think about it.
this is Lucky Luciano for those of you who haven't figured it out, and he's one of the
The
most
real
famous
last-
gangsters. Yeah.
But our real last name is Lucana, not Luciano. It's Lucana. I had an argument with some moron on I think it was called the Scarpa Crew or one of them clubs that they put on the internet, like organized crime clubs and all this. The guy's name was New Morgan, telling me about Uncle Lucky. He goes, "Oh, he used to use that name, Luciano, as a disguised name. He made it up." But no, you moron, he didn't make it up. When they came here from in Italy, and they came to Ellis Island, instead of the guys writing the name Lucana, they wrote Luciano. So he used it.
That happened
Just
to a
like
lot
they
of
called him
names.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie was his nickname, but his wasn't his real name. His real name is Salvatore Lucana. So this moron, I was in the club, and somehow or another he got me thrown off the club, and I wrote a whole big thing about him on Facebook. The guy's a jerk off. Everybody said, the guy's a jerk off. He's a fucking moron. Excuse my language. Next thing you know, guess what? The club gives me an invite to come back. Just to clarify how we were in Naples with my Uncle Lucky, my father was thinking of moving us all back to Italy. That's why we went back to Naples.
Okay.
And then after Uncle Lucky died, and then we shipped his body back into New York, and he's buried in St. John's Cemetery. And my father said, "The hell with it," he says, because all our family's going to get buried when we die, either St. John's, Pine Lawn, or St. Charles. So he says, if we go to Italy, we're going to be buried with some relatives out there that might not even know us. Says, "The hell with it. We'll stay here."
No, that makes sense.
But a lot of guys have a lot of different stories. A lot of guys claim a lot of stuff.
What do you think of the actors that play your uncle or that play Lucky Luciano in Boardwalk Empire and things like that? I mean, they're pretty good actors. I don't know how close it is to reality, but you think they do a good job?
Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's all Hollywood acting.
Yeah.
It's all Hollywood acting.
It seems like
it's all Hollywood acting.
Yeah, of course. You almost died as a kid. Tell me about that. It led to kind of a, I don't want to say epiphany, but a special moment in your life.
Oh, you mean with the plane crash?
Yeah.
In 1960, it was December 16th, 1960. There was a plane. What happened was there were two jet planes. They collided over Staten Island. One of them crashed in Staten Island in Miller's Field. Everybody died. The other jet made it into Brooklyn. And what happened, we heard the explosion. Now, I was sitting by the window because I was the only one sitting by the window because I was the bad kid. So Mrs. Piccarelli said, "By the window, Raimondi, by the window." What else is friggin' new? I've been sitting by the window all year, so what's another day gonna do? Anyway, I'm over there, and we heard the explosion. But then we heard something that sounded like a rocket coming through the air. And she's over here. Now everybody under the desk, get out. Me, I'm over by the window. I want to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
This jet plane came through the block. Now, they interviewed me on the 50th anniversary. 3 different major... Roseanne Scotto interviewed me. Channel 11 interviewed me. What's that other one? 1010 Wins interviewed me. Because everybody they interviewed had these weird stories. And they seen that I was in the school. And I told them what happened. The plane didn't come shooting through the block. It didn't crash. It didn't do nothing like that. It glided like this through the block. Now, what happened, I was by the window. What was left of the wing hit the window. All the glass went in my face. Nothing will hit my eye. I had glass all up in here, around here, under here, over here. All glass. Nothing went in my eye. The doctor said that alone was a miracle. But the plane came like this. It glided. When the plane went down, it hit like that on the ground. There's 7th Avenue and Flatbush Avenue. It hit. Boom, it dropped, okay? Couple of seconds after that, it exploded from the gasoline that was leaking out of it, the jet fuel. When they took me out of the hospital, when they took me out of the school van, they were taking me to the hospital, the jet fuel was running down Sterling Place on fire. It was melting the snow. Now, they put me in the ambulance with the kid, I don't know if it's Balton or Spitzer was his name. He lived for 1 day. 1 day, this kid was the only survivor. He actually fell out of the plane onto a pile of snow. When they put me and him in the same ambulance, you couldn't tell if this kid was white, black, Puerto Rican. He was, let's put it this way. You see my cigar case?
Mm-hmm.
This is the color he was.
Oh, man.
How this kid lived is beyond me, but he died the next day. And I told everybody, and everybody said I was crazy. I told them I didn't know what I said. First of all, I thought It was like a monk or a priest I saw on the plane. Then I seen a picture. I said, that's what I seen. I said, that's Death, they told me. I seen him on the plane. Now, everybody, oh, how could you see him on the plane? They didn't look inside the plane. I never said I seen him inside the plane. I seen him on top of the plane. I don't care what anybody tells me. My mother and father took me to psychiatrists for 2 years. Psychiatrists, psychologists, and they said one of two things. A, either from the shock or whatever, that I'm really in my head, I believe this is what I saw, or he says he really saw it. Because when they put me in the ambulance, I seen him walking down the block. And he just turned around and he waved at me like this. And he just went, and I kept telling everybody, there he is, there he is. They all thought I was nuts, and it just disappeared.
Wow.
And I'm telling everybody, and I'll never forget it to this day. I remember, just as clear as I see you, I see him in my face, in my mind. I see him. Everybody thought I was nuts. I says, I seen this. I'm not kidding. I know what I saw. They could say whatever they want. I know what I saw.
So you saw the angel of death and he waved at you? I mean, that must
Just
have
waved
scared
goodbye to me when he was going down the block. He waved goodbye to me.
That must have scared the shit out of you, right?
No, I kept telling everybody, there he is. He's over there. There he is. And it wasn't that, he wasn't a skeleton face. No.
Oh, okay.
What it looked like was that his face, it looked like he had a good, a very tight facelift. Everything was pulled tight that you could see, the outline of the bones and everything. But he had skin over him.
Wow. I mean, so you must have you obviously remembered that for your entire life.
I'll never forget that. I will never forget that or the plane crash. I was seeing those people literally on fire, hanging out, some of them out of the windows and stuff.
That is deeply traumatizing for anyone, let alone a kid.
They were finding body parts for about 5-6 years after. They were finding like skeleton hands or whatever, all on the roofs and all over the place. And there was a guy on the corner of 7th Avenue. He used to sell Christmas trees. And part of the plane crashed over there. They never found his body. They think he was completely incinerated, this guy.
Did you ever see death after that? I mean, you went to Vietnam and everything. Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When the scout was stabbing me, I seen him behind the scout.
In Vietnam. We'll get to that in a little bit. I just wondered about the death connection there. Yeah, because somebody tried to kill you in Vietnam as well. I mean, you've come close a few times. And the reason I brought this up is because after that, the doctors, your family, everyone said, hey, you're a lucky kid just like your uncle. And that it seems like that kind of sealed it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely did. Because it said, no glass went into my eye at all. I mean, here, it went up around here, in here, even under here, some over here. Nothing in the eye or on the lid or anything. Nothing. Nothing at all. That was pure luck.
How did you end up getting into the family business after that? I mean, it seems like a jump from, okay, you're hanging out with your uncles to, now you're in the business doing stuff. You're not just walking around after them.
They took me down to the Diplomat on Carroll and 3rd, where I met Joe Colombo. And everybody said, what's this kid doing here? So they turned around. My cousin Max says, he goes, this is Frankie's kid. So Tom DeBella and all them said, this Frankie's kid. They says, no problem. Just let him stay. I was cleaning up the Diplomat, mopping the floor, sweeping, stuff like that. Then Joe would give me some envelopes. They would tell him, go up to 5th Avenue where Scappy's Club is, bring these envelopes up there. I'd walk up to the block, I'd bring the envelopes. Scappy'd give me an envelope, and I'd walk it back down to 5th Avenue. As I started getting older, then they says, go over to 5th Street and 5th Avenue. And I'm walking. I don't have a car, so I'm walking. I walk up to Carroll Street, walk across 5th Street, 5th Avenue, 7th Street, and 5th Avenue. I'm dropping off envelopes and picking up envelopes, and I'm going back down to Carroll Street. So one day I'm going to make a pickup on 3rd, I think it was 3rd Street or 5th Street. Detectives grabbed me. 2 detectives come out, they grabbed me. They had the money on me, I had the number sheets, I had everything on me. Right at the Bergen Street Station House. And they threw me in lockup. Never told me to call a lawyer, never said nothing. All they're telling me is, you're never going to see your family again. We're going to send you away for 100 years. And I'm looking at them. I didn't say a word, because they always told me, don't open your mouth, don't say that. I'm sitting there. They threw me in the cage with all adults. I was 15 going on 16. They threw me in the cage with all adults, which they weren't supposed to. In the cage, everybody's looking at me, and I'm looking at me, and I'm saying, here's what I'm going to, I figured something was going to happen. But there were 2 guys on the other side of the cage, and I looked at them, and I recognized them from the neighborhood. They just went like this to me. He nodded to me, and I went like that to them. When everybody seen that, they all backed up. Because these two guys were somebody. They were made guys. But they had gotten picked up for some bullshit, whatever it was. But they were going out. When these guys knew me, they said, no problem. They just backed up. Now, from the story I got, down to the Diplomat, everybody's saying, where am I? They didn't know. I didn't go for the other drops. I didn't make the pickups and this, that. So everybody's saying maybe something happened to him. Maybe he got shot, killed. Maybe somebody mugged him, whatever. And they had this one guy, Fat Andy, who me and him never got along. He goes, maybe Anthony took off with the money. My cousin Mac turned around and told me, he said, you ever say that again? He said, I'll blow your fucking head off. He goes, this kid ain't going to run away with the money. So what they done, they got in touch with Abraham Gritz, Abraham Gritz had a bail bonds business, and he was a lawyer. He says, see if you can find out what happened. Sure enough, he comes back. They go, he's got him in Bergen Street Station lockup. They go down. I'm sitting there, and I hear, who the fuck is in charge here? And I was like, I know their voice. And I tell him, I said, Joe Colombo. You get him out right now, the captain. And he's yelling. So he goes, what the fuck is locking up my man? That's my fuck. Get him the fuck out here now. Captain went, opened up the gate, and took me out. He goes, where's the detective? He goes, fine. He goes, you keep this shit, but I'll have you on the fucking bread line, he tells him. The detectives come out. He reamed them, forget about what he done with them. He said, I want where's the money, where's the slips and everything? So the detective goes to give the Joe. He goes, no, you hand it to him. You took it from him. You, like this with the hand. You fucking hand it to him. Otherwise, you'll be up in Harlem tonight. This detective was busted. He didn't want to hear. He handed me that envelope. I just put a smirk on. I was waiting for him to say something, because Joe would have cut his head off. We leave. The two detectives, he had something done with them that they had a beat that they didn't really want to go on. Came back. He says, I said, yeah, I'm fine. All right, finish your route. I went and finished my route, and I came back down to the Diplomat with it. And that's when I got my first drink. They gave me a scotch and soda.
I find it a little ironic that the club full of like gangster guys that are using force to get everything done is called the Diplomat. That just occurred to me. It's like a little tongue-in-cheek joke almost.
I'll tell you why. Because there was a hotel in Miami called the Diplomat Hotel where all the guys used to stay. So the bar that was on Carroll and 3rd, they called it the Diplomat Lounge. Same thing as over there. We had a what do you call it? We had a charter for it at one time. There used to be a charter.
It's like the aristocrats, right? Like, it's like
yeah.
So by 18, you're managing this spot, which also is called the Cadaver Club.
No. 18. I was already in the service at 18. No.
This is 16, though, right? You're managing the Cadaver Club, which also sounds like the most mafia thing ever. And
Cadaver, not Cadaver. Cadaver.
Oh, Cadaver. I thought it was Cadaver Club, like a dead body. Oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Okay. All right. I misheard that one. I thought, no way, they name it the Cadaver Club. That's also a good name, though. It's just not as upbeat.
Yeah, it's true, too. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy comes in there looking for you, or looking for something, and you this is like the first time you get attacked by, I guess, a full-grown man, huh?
Yeah. Joe gave me the spot down there. He says, come here. They're going to give you the numbers money every night and the receipts. The numbers, you'll get the Shylock money, the pickups, the numbers money, the sports money. Says, bring it downtown, bring it to the bank downtown, because they used to call, in the areas we used to call them a bank, Numbers Bank, Shylock Bank, and everything. Bring it there. You're done. If you want, go back to the club or wherever you want to go hang out. He says, but be here tomorrow morning, because every morning I had to be back at the Diplomat. Okay. So I'm in the club, and I'm putting some of the envelopes together. This guy walks in, and he says to the bartender, he says, who's taking all the action here? Who's in charge? So I get up, I say, excuse me, can I help you? So I said, well, anything that goes through here says, I got the route over here. He said, yeah, I want to talk to you. Pulled out a gun. I still got the first scar right over here, where he hit me with the gun. That's the
above
first
your
scar.
Eye. Yeah, wow.
Right above my eye. This guy beat me so bad, I don't even know how I made it back downtown. All I remember I was crawling out of the place. Literally, I was crawling out of the place. And I remember him saying, you come back here, your mother's going to have a closed coffin for you. I'm going to blow your fucking head off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I made it out of there, and my cousins had given me an Electra 225 Limited, big Buick. I ain't even got a license yet, but I knew how to drive. I went from 3rd Avenue between 85th and 86th Street in Bay Ridge all the way back downtown to Carroll Street. I made like a turn to like make a U-turn. I crashed into the wall of the Diplomat. Everybody comes running out. Now they see it's the car. They look at me. They think I got shot because I'm bleeding all over the place. They get me to Methodist Hospital, and Dr. Leo was there. He examines me. Top. He goes, no. He goes, he caught a bad beating. So my cousin goes, what happened? I said, look, this is what happened. I said, I don't know who this guy is. Told him what happened. He goes, okay. He says, take care of him. So they were taking care of me in the hospital. My cousin was coming up. Everybody was coming up to see me. My uncle, my father was looking for blood. My father wanted the guy dead. He didn't care who, he wanted the guy's whole family dead. My father didn't care. Joe Colombo told me, he says, Frankie, I'll take care of it. P.S. They take me home. My cousin takes me home from the hospital about 5-6 days later. He says, rest up for a couple more days and I'll bring you down to 3rd Avenue. About 3-4 days later, he goes, come on, Joe wants to see you. It's okay. They told me who this guy was, this Sally Burns. He was a cousin to the Granellos. They were all named either Frankie Burns, Sally Burns, or Jimmy Burns. The last name was Granello, but then they had cousins who didn't even have the same last name as them, but being they were cousins, they adopted the name Frankie Burns and Granello. But they were all a bunch of perverts, is what they were. Seriously, they all were. No, there's no lie about it. They all went after young girls.
Oh.
And you couldn't, let's put it this way. When you killed one of them, you did the world a favor. They were all fucking lowlifes, but they were big earners. They were big earners. See, that's the catch. If you're a big earner, you could be the biggest lowlife in the world. Nothing's going to happen to you. But when the push comes to shove and the commission says, the guy's got to go, I don't care how much he earns, guy's going, he's got to go. So Joe Colombo tells me, he says, listen, I'm going to take care of this thing with this Sally Burns. He says, don't worry about it. So I appreciate it. He goes, relax. We were down at Monty's restaurant. We were at Monty's restaurant at the time. My cousin calls me over to the table. There's my cousin, Scappy, Jerry Lang, Junior Persico was there, Alley Boy, Little Vincent. They were all sitting there. And he says, listen, if Joe Colombo handles this for you, that means you belong to Joe Colombo. You can't do nothing without his say-so. And if he don't want you made, you ain't getting made. That's okay. So what do? They said, if you handle it, then that means you belong here with us. You ain't his man. You belong here with us. When it's your time to get straightened out, you'll get straightened out. That's okay. So I says, all right. So now I'm saying I got to handle this myself. I said, all right. So I'm thinking, I said, let me go see Joey D and Sally D. They had a bar on Union Street and 3rd Avenue. All right, Union Street bar. I went and seen Joey D. I said, Joey, he goes, how you been? I said, good. He goes, I heard what happened. I said, yeah, I know. I said, the guy screwed me up. I said, but I'm doing better. He goes, what do you want, cuz? Now, me and him are the same age. I said, I want to get a gun. He goes, for what? I said, I'm going to take it with me when I go down to 3rd Avenue. I said, maybe I'll scare this guy with it. He goes, all right, come on. Went into the bar that his family owned. We went to the basement. Then he had a sub-basement. All weapons. His family were gun runners. They had Shylock and bookmaking and everything else, but their main source of income was from weapons. I mean, if you wanted a B-52 bomber, he'll tell you, I'll get it for you in 3 days. He'll have it at your doorstep. I mean, you got to see the stuff. They had bazookas. They had hand grenades. I mean, they had stuff like you never saw. P.S. He goes to me, pick out something. I said, that gun, what is it? He goes, it's a 380 Beretta from Italy. Petro, I'll never forget, 380 Petro model 84 from Italy. 13 shots in the clip and 1 in the pipe. I says, well, how do you shoot this? You know, he goes, come on. They had a range down there. Loaded it, showed me the safety and everything on it, showed me the target, and I'm still shooting. I'm shooting. He's looking at me, and I'm shooting and everything, or loading it, putting more bullets in the clip, shooting. I hit, I think it was about 48 bullseyes out of 50 shots. Never fired a gun. It was the first time I ever fired a gun in my life. Joey goes to me, he goes, you never fired a gun? I said, Joey, no. He goes, you telling me the truth? I said, Joey, we know each other since we're babies. We always hang out together. You know if I shot a gun, you know I shot a gun. I never fucking fired a gun. It's my first time. Because let me tell you something. He goes, somebody who never shot a gun, he says, sure, natural. He says, he goes, my Uncle Sal's coming over. So Sal comes over, and they show him what happened. He says, you did that? Yeah, I never shot a gun. Gun's a gift. Taken. They gave me a box of ammunition. It's a gift. I was ready to pay for it. No, all right. They told me, be careful when you go down there, they told me. So I got in a brown paper bag. I walked from Union Street back over to Carroll Street. I get in the car with my cousin. He goes, what's in the bag? I open up, pull out the gun. Bang! He gives me a whack right in the friggin'. What are you, fucking nuts? He goes, you ain't got no permit for this. What the? He goes, put it back in the bag. He says, what are you doing with this? I says, well, when I go down to the club Friday, I'm taking it with me. I go, for what? Maybe I can scare the guy. My cousin put a smirk on his face. I think he knew what was going to happen. I think my cousin knew because he put a smirk on his face. And now when I think back about it, years later, it's like, yeah, you're going to scare him. You're going to have to pop this guy. P.S. I go home. I get, I'm at the house, and I'm practicing. I'm loading it. I'm unloading it. I'm, pulling the action back, safety's on and off. I had this gun in my sleep. I could do this gun blindfolded. Friday comes. I'm at the Diplomat. I go back home, get changed, shower up, change, put my clothes on, everything. I get the gun. I load the gun up, stick it in my waistband. I go down to Monty's restaurant, and I leave the gun in the car. Excuse me. Everybody goes, what are you doing here? I must have got there. It was about, about 8 o'clock. He says, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He said, I thought you were going down to 30. I said, yeah, I'm going to go down to the club in a little while, but I just wanted to come there and see, let you know I'm going down. So I said, cousin, everybody, okay, go ahead, I'll see you when you get back. I said, all right. So they said, if you don't, if you get back late, then we'll see you in the morning. It's okay, fine. I take my cousin's car, and I drive to 3rd Avenue, and I park right in front of the place. There's a parking space. I go in. I got the gun in my waistband. I go in, and Dookie, the bartender, sees me. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, I want to see this kid, Sally Burns. I want to straighten inside. He goes, Andy, this guy's fucking nuts. He's been shaking down everybody in the club. He's robbing the registers. We can't control him. He goes, this guy will kill you. I says, don't worry about it. I said, don't worry about it. I says, I want to talk to him. I figured I would really talk to him. Now, with this club, when you walked in this way. The bar was on the left-hand side. And on the right, you had like a ledge that you could put your drinks on. Mm-hmm. But the bar went straight about maybe 40 feet. Then it turned to the left, like an L shape. And there was a dance floor. Like to your right, there was a dance. When you made the turn like this, there was a dance floor to your right. Then there was all tables and chairs. And then it turned down again to the other door. When I walked through and I turned around, I seen him. He had his back to me. And he was talking to this girl, Karen Schools. I'll never forget Karen. Gorgeous blonde. What a girl could stop. The girl could stop an atomic bomb in mid-blast. Believe me when I tell you. Gorgeous piece of work. She's talking to him. The music goes down, and I hear her tell him, she says, Anthony's behind you. For whatever the reason, before she even said it, I don't know why, I had the gun in my hand. This guy gets up. What did I tell you, you dirty motherfucker? Your mother's going to have a close call for me. I'm going to blow your fucking head up. He opens his jacket, and I seen the gun in his waistband. He puts his hand on it. I just picked up my hand like this and emptied the whole clip into him.
Wow. Didn't
think about it. I did not. I'm going to tell you now, I did not think about it. The only thing I'd done, people ran out of the friggin' place, that's for sure. They were running all over. I got in the car. I drove. I remember something telling me, remember what your cousin said, get rid of the gun. I stopped on 3rd Avenue. Well, no, Hamilton Avenue I went up to. There's Gowanus Canal. Took the gun apart, threw the whole thing in the canal. Got back in the car, took off. I go down to Carroll and 3rd. I go into the Diplomat, see Joe Blub, the bartender. I says, where's everybody? He goes, they're down in Monty's. I go down. Everybody goes, what are you doing here? I said, I went down to Bay Ridge and I saw that Sally Burns. So my cousin says, what happened? I said, well, I told him what happened. He pulled out, he got up. He was going to kill him, I said, what happened? I said, I shot him. So they all looked at me. He said, what do you mean you shot? I said, I shot him. I said, I emptied the whole clip into him. I said, I got rid of the gun. It's in the canal. So Jerry Lang goes to me, is he dead? I said, I don't know. I didn't stick around to find out. So Joe tells little Vincent, he goes, go down to the place there, see what you can find out. By the time Vincent left and he came back was within an hour. He comes in, Vincent, he says, the guy has no head. So just wait till he goes, he shot him in the head. He blew his whole fucking head off. He goes, the body's on the floor. He goes, if you look at the body, whatever, he goes, and you look for the head, you can't tell if it was a man or a woman. He goes, he's got no head. He goes, it's gone. He said, it's like mush. He said, you can't tell what the hell it is. So they tell me, says, the guy's dead. Okay. It really didn't faze me. Whether it didn't register, maybe what, didn't register. Joe Colombo goes, give him a drink. He gives me a 7 and 7. He goes, look at this kid. He goes, he just killed somebody and he's sitting there calm as a cucumber. Oh, what happened? The guy went to hurt me. I killed him. I mean, what's the big fucking, what's the big freaking deal? They were happy with me, man. I was like their golden child. Forget about it after that. Everything was going good. Then about I was 16 when that happened, and then I turned 17. It was December. In December, everything was good. They sent me up to the farm, though, that night. Came back December, I started doing my business. January, 2 detectives come in, they pick me up, and they grab me for the murder of Salvatore Burns. So I'm looking at everybody, I'm saying, who the fuck is Salvatore Burns? They said, that's that guy Sally Burns. Boom, they take me away. He gets Abraham Gritz. Abraham Gritz, now here's, you're going to laugh at this one, makes a deal with the DA. I'm going to get charged with possession of an unlicensed gun and firing a gun in the city limits. Total of a year and a half you got to do. Now, everybody says, how did you get that? I'm going to tell you why. There is a stipulation. The state, the city, and the feds have. It's called the Youth Offenders Act. Up to the age of 24, anything you do, you're considered a youth offender. You can only get a minimal amount of time. They can't prosecute you and give you big time. Can't. As long as you're 24. Once you hit 25, that's it. You're an adult. Then they can charge you with everything. So the guy made it. He says, listen, Anthony, year and a half, what the hell? I said, I killed it. Yeah, okay. So I was going in, and then my cousin was going to go away for a case that he had. I'd be back ahead of him. So I said, no, just keep on running the business. P.S., a couple of months later, we're going down to take the plea. Figure, start, why not? Year and a half, you can't go wrong. We drive down Atlantic Avenue, and we turn onto Boren Place. Boren Place goes like to the courthouses, and it goes to the probation department, to the bridge. 4 cars came down on us like this. We were in Jerry Lang's Lincoln. He had this big-ass Lincoln. They came down on us like this, 4 cars. Guys coming out, 2, 3, 4 guys each car, pulling us all out of the car. Joe Colombo screaming at them. I'm on the floor. We got him. You got who? We got you. The fuck you talking about? FBI. They got me for, now here's the kicker, not murder. Nothing like that. The civil rights violation of Salvatore Granello. Now, the civil rights violation, I thought, if it was like a white on black crime, black on white on Hispanic, no. Civil rights violation means I caused his death. So being I caused his death, 1, he can never grow old. He can't go to work. He can't retire. He can't live with his wife. He can't see his children grow up. He can't see his grandchildren. He can't go on vacation. He can't get laid and play in English. He can't go to the theater. On and on and on and on it goes. And I'm looking, I say, are you kidding me or what? Sentence goes 99 years.
Oh, wow.
The Youth Offenders Act doesn't phase that because it's a civil rights violation.
Right.
Okay, now I says, okay, so I make the bail, and I'm out. And Abraham Gritz goes, listen, he goes, I got to bring a guy in on this. So he's going to bring, he goes, I got to bring in, what the hell was that? Oh, Jesus Christ, I forgot it. His name is going out of my head right now. You believe this? His name is going out of my head.
The lawyer?
William Kunstler. William
okay.
Kunstler he brings in. If he was alive now, William Kunstler, and he said, I forgot his name, he'd probably hit me in the head with one of his stupid-ass books. I see this nut walking into the Diplomat, and I'll never forget the way he did with the glasses on the top and the eyebrows, but this guy was a genius. Comes in, he goes, what's the plan? But, bro, he goes, we're going to go to trial. He goes, you're going to get convicted. I'm going to get convicted. So what are we going to trial for? I said, let's take a plea. He says, listen to me. If you take a plea, he says, there's nothing I could do for you. He goes, you got to do 33 years before you're eligible for parole, and it doesn't mean they're going to give it to you. He says, but if we go to trial and you get a conviction, he goes, I got a rabbit in the hat I can pull out. He goes, I know. He goes, I could take care of this. Okay. Sure enough, like he said, we went to trial. Boom, got convicted. They didn't waste no friggin' time. Judge sentences me to 99 years. They sent me that night. They didn't wait for the next day. That night, they sent me to Atlanta. I was on the bus going to Atlanta from the bus to the plane, Atlanta Penitentiary. They just didn't like a directed red organized crime. So I'm looking at it, they says, we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Next day comes, They got me in the hole. That's solitary confinement because I'm a new fish in there. Who comes walking in? Grits, Abraham Grits, William Kunstler. Guy goes to me, goes, how'd you like to get out of here? I'll kill the whole fucking place if I got to get out of here. What, are you kidding me? What? He goes, you have to join the service and you're going to go to the Southeast Asian Conference. Yeah, sure, why not? What do I care?
Mm-hmm.
Go sign the papers. Sign the papers. He goes, the MPs will be here tomorrow to pick you up. Okay. Next day, MPs came. Very nice they were. These guys were huge. I'm talking like 6'6". I'm talking about pure muscle, these guys. I mean, really. These guys make Lou Ferrigno and them look small. I'm telling you, these guys are nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. The guy said, come forward. Yeah, okay. Put the cuffs on me. Would you please come this way? These guys are nice. They get me in the wagon. You had a driver, and then you had an escort, and then these two guys. There was one guy in here, me, and the other guy. And it was a funny thing. They're arguing about eating, and they're shaking me back and forth in the car. They're like, really? What the fuck? So I tell the guys, look. They said, we found a place to go and eat. I said, okay, you guys got to do me one favor. This is what he wants. I said, if you decide to go here and you decide to go there, one of these, please unhandcuff me. He says, why? I said, because you're going to split me in two. They started laughing. The guy says, listen, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the cuffs off you. I'm going to take the chains. You're going to come in there and eat with us like regular people so nobody looks at you. But I'm going to tell you now. You run. He goes, I will shoot you in the back and kill you. He goes, and I will find you. I said, hey, I want a good meal. I got no problem with that. Went into the diner, had a meal with them. Told him, I said, I got to go to the bathroom. The guy says, go ahead. I looked at him. I said, you serious? He says, I trust you. Remember what I said? Hey, I went in, did my business in the bathroom, came back out. We went to go back in the car. I went like this outside the wagon. He said, don't worry about it. We got back in. We got down to Fort Benning, Georgia at first. Is where they brought me in Fort Benning in Georgia first before they transferred me to Camp Lejeune. They put me in there. Next day I go to Camp Lejeune. That's where I met Captain Emil Bass.
Now, in the interest of time, and because I want to entice people to listen to the podcast, which we'll link in the show notes, The Enforcer, I will skip over some of the Vietnam stories, but suffice it to say that you got a lot of, is it safe to say you got special operations and marksman sniper training in Vietnam? Is that kind of the...
Marksman, sniper, and sharpshooter, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the second time you saw the Angel of Death we hinted at earlier in the show was when a North Vietnamese scout came up and...
Stabbed me over here. Stabbed me twice over here.
Wow, on the opposite side of your chest from where your heart is. I guess he...
Yeah.
Wow, that was probably, I mean, you're lucky to be here, I think, with two knife wounds in that. So after that, you kind of go straight back into the family business, and you've got some pretty serious, it's not just securities fraud. I mean, it is next level type of stuff. What were you doing at the Vatican?
Well, what happened, I came home, and I started doing my rackets as usual. And then what happened, my cousin Luigi Raimondi calls us up, and he was a cardinal out there, and he flies in. He says, listen, he says, we got a deal going. I said, what is it? He goes, the stocks. I said, what do you mean stocks? He goes, we got a guy who counterfeited all the stocks. We've been selling them all over. He says, you come in with us. Now, they started doing this back in 1971. This is 75, and it's still going on. So I said, wait till me. He goes, we'll send you the stocks. They're all counterfeit. If you got somebody that can move. I says, yeah, I could get somebody. I got in touch with this guy, Joey P., who was in commodities, but his nephew was into the regular stocks like AT&T, Coca-Cola, AT&T, and IBM. So I spoke with him. I went to Jersey, spoke to the old man Rayo out in Jersey. He was the big boss in Jersey with all the rackets. They have a little stock market dealing out there. Got his nephew in it, Pete Martell. Then I went to Chicago Mercantile in Chicago. I saw a cousin of mine that was out there. I had it set up. I come back. I tell Luigi, I says, we got it set. He goes, all right. He goes, I'm flying back tonight. He goes, expect the package in a couple of days. They had their own jet that they came in with from the Vatican. He takes off. About 3 days later, I get a package about this long, this high, and this wide.
That's pretty big package.
Yeah, it was all loaded with stocks. $1,000 denomination, $100,000 denominations, $1,000. I got it and I brought it to everybody. And we moved it, and they started moving the stock. And I kept getting a shipment every week. Every week I was getting a shipment of stocks every week. In the interim, my cousin Luigi dies. He died of cancer.
So just to clarify, they're printing off these stock certificates somewhere in the Vatican on like a I
No,
guess
not in the Vatican. They had a forger that did it to them.
Okay.
He made a copy of the stocks that the Vatican owned. He made a perfect forgery copy. And they were selling. Now, you got to remember, there was, Antonio Rubino, who was my cousin, Salvatore Pappalardo, who was another cousin, and my favorite at that time in the stock there was Paul Jacob Marcinkus. He was the head of the Vatican Bank. He was our cousin. They were all in on it. There's a stock fraud. Stocks were going good, and then in October of 75, we got a call that Pete Martell, or Petey Rayo as he was called, got arrested, and he gave up everybody. So I grew up with a bunch of guys that were close with me, that were involved with me, and we went right to the airport. I called up my cousins in Italy. He says, get down here, got on the plane and went to Italy. Now, see, everybody says, oh, you couldn't go to Italy back then. I said, yes, you could, because back then you didn't have the security like you have now. You're talking about in the 70s. You could go to the airport and say, give me 5 tickets to Rome. Yeah, here you go. You pay cash, you got on the plane. There was no security or anything that bothered you. When I used to go to Florida, like 10 times a year. I just get the bug in my head, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go to Florida, go to the airport. Hey, give me a ticket to Florida. Here's a ticket, I should go. So I got there. I told my cousin what happened. He put me at the Vatican Hotel, and he put the rest of my guys somewhere else. So we were all separated. He found out what happened, that his name is Pete Martell. He goes by the name of Pete Rayo and Petey Matza, they call him. He got pinched, and he ratted on everybody. I'm down in the Vatican, and I'm there about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. The FBI comes in. They came in with an arrest warrant for us, all of us. So my cousin tells him, you can't take him. Oh, he says, no. He goes, this is Vatican City. We are considered a country within a country. We have no extradition. You can't touch them. The FBI went to the Italian government. The Italian government says, we have no jurisdiction in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're their own country. Now the FBI comes back. You're never going to come home. You never this. You never. Hey, listen, pal. I got women out here. I got bars. I got clubs. I got radios. I don't have to go back home. I can live here. I mean, Vatican City is huge. So my cousin tells me, he goes, you want to go back home? I said, it would be nice. He goes, I got a fail safe. Don't worry about it. He goes, where's the counterfeit stocks you got? So he brings it up. He goes, you're the expert? He says, yeah. He goes, now the FBI stock had the FBI stamp on it, the counterfeit ones. He turns around and says, get the same one out of the Vatican vault. They get it, he goes, now I want you to look at both of them. Tell me what you see. The guy looks at both stocks. He goes, perfect copies. So my cousin goes, you're the expert? He goes, look at them again. Perfect, nothing wrong with them. He turns around and tells the FBI agent, you better fire him and get somebody else. Says, why? He goes, look at the serial number. Both stocks got the same serial number. They both got the same batch number. They both got the same routing number. So now the FBI is looking at this guy. Hey, you moron, you couldn't see this? So my cousin says, how would this play out? Let's say this got released into the United States that all this stock is phony. He goes, you're probably going to recession, but then he goes, you'll hit a depression that you never come out of. He goes, do you understand what I'm saying? My cousin Marcinkus, he was a bad. I mean, this guy. I mean, seriously, this guy was not a guy you played with. Cardinal law, he'll kill you and take your life. There's no joke with this guy. He says, so let's make the deal. We got a list of everybody that we gave stuff to. We'll give you the list, and we'll give you 500,000. I mean, 500 million they were going to give him. Because they made in the United States, they made close to $10 billion.
$10 billion.
Billion, yeah, billion. Yeah, we're talking billion. We ain't talking, listen to me, you have no idea. The Vatican's worth at least, a rough estimate, figure, 1 billion times 1 billion. Let's put it that way. Take 700 billion and add that, say, 3 times over. That's what the Vatican's worth. They got more money than you know what to do with, but we can get into that whenever you want to. He says, call New York up. The guy calls New York, goes, tell him what I said. So then they had the old rotary phones where you used to put your finger and turn it. They were about maybe 12 feet away. My cousin goes, don't worry about it. Over the phone, you hear the guy yelling, you stupid son of a bitch, make the deal. Make the fucking deal. And I went, wow. He goes, that's his boss in New York. Guy comes back, he makes the deal. Here's the list. Here's the money. There's no charge on there. Free. Yeah, everything was written out. The FBI agent goes to take the documents. My cousin grabs it like this. He goes, they stay over here in the Vatican vault. He goes, I'm giving you a copy. So he says, why? He goes, in case you guys try to do something. He goes, I got the originals over here. They're not to be touched. And that's all in the papers. They went back, and we got back home just before Thanksgiving in 75.
Those documents must still be somewhere in the Vatican where they're like just a bunch of fake stocks. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely they're still over there. They were in the Vatican vault.
Jesus.
They were in the Vatican vault. They didn't touch that. That's probably part of their archives now.
It's interesting to me that, I mean, if your cousin was the head of the Vatican Bank and he was in on it, that just means that corruption runs through the Vatican from the top to the bottom.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, the Pope Paul VI was in on it.
Wow.
Paul, let me tell you something. My cousins that were there, they're supposed to be cardinals and everything, right? They all had girlfriends. They all had kids. The Pope, everybody talks about, I mean, the Pope was a great guy, Pope Paul VI. But he had 3 kids. Let's talk friggin' serious. Come on. How do you expect a guy to stay like this all his life and not go with a woman? Come on, let's be serious. That's stupid. But there was a lot involved, and especially when Pope John Paul I came in. That poor son of a bitch, he signed his own death warrant.
Well, tell me about that, because that story that's crazy. That one, when I was reading the book, listening to you talk on the Enforcer podcast, which again we'll link in the show notes, that one even kind of shook you up because you were like, wait a minute, we're going to do what now?
Yeah. What happened? Pope Paul VI, he dies. So Pope John Paul I gets elected. 1, 2, 3. Okay. After he's in about 16, 17 days, he turns around and says, anybody who was involved in the stock fraud with the Vatican, I'm going to excommunicate them and defrock them from the church. Mm-hmm. Which means now you're falling under Italian law. You're falling under all the laws of the United States. We're all screwed. All right, let's put it that way. We're dead in the water. They call me up. Marcinkus calls me up. He goes, we're coming into New York. All right, good. They fly in. They say, we got to see Grandpa. That's all right. They had their own jet. Vatican has its own jet. They come in, come to the house. They said, what's going on? He says, we'll talk. So they go see my grandfather, my father's father, Antonio. They tell him what happened. So he says, all right. He says, we got to get rid of him. I'm looking at him. I said, you got to get rid of who? He goes, we got to get rid of the Pope. Are you fucking kidding me? Said, nope. He said, you're coming with us. I'm coming with you. Yeah, you're coming with us. So my grandfather says, come, let's talk. What happened? So my grandfather says, I give you the okay, I give you my blessing. Because they came in to get my grandfather's okay. To take, to take this guy out. Now, I have to go with him for 2 reasons. One is to tell them how to put him away nicely without using violence. So I said, what me? He goes, well, you were in Nam. I said, yeah, but in Nam, I killed him with guns and stuff. He goes, no, but okay, I got to tell you how to do it very peacefully. Okay. And second, here's where you're going to get the laugh. I got to be their witness before God. I looked at him. What? He says, when we die, so we're going to go before God, and God's going to say, you killed one of my popes. And we can say, no, we did it humanely. He didn't suffer. He didn't have any pain. And God's going to say to them, well, who's your witness? They're going to say, our cousin Anthony's our witness. So I'm supposed to go before God, tell them this. God says he's going to look at me, and he's going to go, he's going to pull the lever. I'm going to go to hell. The devil's going to say, no, I don't want you to eat. He's going to pull that, and I don't know where the fuck I'm going to wind up. I says, you got to kill a pope? He says, yeah. I said, you're crazy. He says, you know how many years we've been killing popes in the Vatican? How many centuries we've been doing it? For centuries. If they didn't like the guy that was in, they got rid of him and put their own guy in.
Oh, wow.
I go back with him, and I'm saying, you guys are fun. No. I saw the whole route of the Pope. I says, here's what you do. You either get ketamine or Valium, put it in his tea, because he likes his tea real sweet. Once he goes to sleep, you get potassium cyanide in a glass bottle. Well, why not plastic? I said, well, if you get plastic, when it eats through it, I said, we're all going to be dead. You get glass with a glass eyedropper. Fill the eyedropper up, put it in between his lips, just squeeze, and you walk out of the room. Pope turns around, falls asleep. We're watching everything. All the cardinals, everybody's there. Goes in, boop, puts it in, walks out, closes the door. The guy who brings the tea and everything goes to check on the Pope. Half hour later, ringing the bell. There's something wrong with the Pope. Something wrong with the Pope. Doctor comes in. Pope is dead. Now they're crying. You hypocritical bastards. You just whacked the guy and you're crying. My cousin goes, we got to make it look good. Now, here's the catch. The only one who can touch a Pope, you got to be a doctor, embalmer, or whatever. You have to be with the Vatican, living in Vatican City. You can't be like a cardinal and you're a doctor and you live outside in Rome. You got to be living in Vatican City, otherwise you can't touch it. In other words, everything is in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew what was going to go on. They laid him out. After that, right in the wall. Goodbye. That's
right, because they put him in the...
in the wall, in the mausoleum.
Yeah, mausoleum.
Yeah. But there's a lot more to that story, but I got that in book 2, which you'll all be surprised on find out who he was related to, this guy.
That Pope? I'm very curious. I'm very curious.
That's in book 2.
All right.
But I'll tell you one thing I will tell you. It was always written in stone that when the Pope died, he would get in, and he got in like that. It was already written in stone that he would become the next Pope.
Oh, interesting. So that isn't some sort of like deliberative process. That was already decided beforehand.
Because of who he was related to. And like I said, it's in book 2, but when book 2 comes out, if you want an interview on it, I'll give you an interview on that, and I'll let you know.
You bet,
You'll be
of course.
very surprised. You'll be in shock when you see that.
I am...
especially about Lufthansa. I even got more about Lufthansa in book 2, not everything that was in book 1.
I definitely want to hear about that too. Yeah. But now, for the things that you can talk about, I want to talk about how the next Pope didn't just get whacked. Like, so first of all, you wanted to kill this Pope, or they wanted to kill this Pope.
No. Whoa. Back up.
Uh-huh.
I did not want to kill him.
Right. I
my
misspoke.
cousins did, not me. No. I did not want to kill him. I never said I wanted to kill him. My cousins are the ones who wanted to do it, not me.
So this guy, he was, to refresh people's memory, he heard about the stock fraud, and he was like, I got to find out who was behind this, root out the corruption, take him out.
No, he knew who it was. He really knew who it was.
Oh, he already knew. Okay, so he was going to replace too many people, and they said, this guy's got to go. Okay, and the next Pope comes in and says, what? Don't worry about it?
Pope John Paul II comes in. We get a call. My cousins are coming in again. Come in, we got to go see Grandpa. What's going on? They said Pope John Paul II, said Saturday he's calling a meeting. I said, so? He goes, if he's going to call a meeting about the stock fraud, they told my grandpa, says, we're going to take him. We're going to get rid of him. I goes, you got to kill another one. Are you guys fucking? No, we're going to get rid of him. So my grandfather goes, got to go back. I said, are you kidding me? He goes, go. When my grandfather says go, you go. Grandson or not, you go. Trust me when I tell you, my grandfather was from the old country and he didn't give a shit about nothing. I said, we're going to get, I said, I'm going to hell easily. Or I'm going someplace worse. There's no Tory. Nah, don't worry. They tell me, I said, yeah, don't worry about it for you guys. I'm screwed. P.S. I go back to the hotel. The day of the meeting comes. My cousin Jacob comes in. You have fun. Yeah, I had girls there. I mean, these girls were like naked walking around. I wasn't into, I want to have sex. I was just worried about, I got to go there and watch them kill this other friggin' Pope. P.S. He leaves. He comes back a couple hours later, and he hits the door to the room up. Boom! I saw his face. I said, oh, shit. Just the look on his face, I says, this guy's going to die. Walks over. He puts his hand on my left ear, puts his hand on my shoulder, and he hits me down hard. Oh! I look at him. He goes, I said, you got to be fucking kidding me. He's got to go too. He goes, I said, Jesus Christ. He goes, nah, I was only fooling. Everything's all right. This guy's fine. Hey, you son of a bitch. I'd like to hit you with a bottle in the head. I said, what happened? Pope John Paul II said, anything that transpired before my reign now is forgotten about. I'm only concerned about from today on. This guy got away by the skin of his teeth. If he said he was going to do it, they were prepared to take him out.
Do you think maybe he knew that, and so he was like, I don't want to deal with this?
Hell yeah, he knew. Of course he knew. He's no dummy. I mean, just because you're a priest in the Vatican or whatever, doesn't mean you're a dope. You know what's going on. Especially when the guy cashes his chips in after 33 days, and then when you go buy the box, you have that little odor that smells like amaretto. That's the freaking poison. And I'll tell you something. I told I was interviewed from Spain, England, Rome, that other paper, the Wire, and all these things, and they got in touch with the Vatican. The Vatican's answer, you know what their answer was? No comment. Don't come back here no more. And I challenged the Vatican. I challenge the Vatican, get Pope John Paul I, do a tissue test or a bone marrow test or whatever, and you'll see that poison is still in their system to this day. They don't even want to talk to me, the Vatican.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with that.
Last year, it was last year in November, after all this came out, my cousin Nancy calls me up. She says, put on the History Channel. They had a thing about Pope John Paul I. They suspect foul play all of a sudden. After my book and everything came out. And I got in touch with the Vatican. Matter of fact, what's his name? The guy from the Post wrote a big article. But he put it down that I went there to whack the Pope. Brad Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
He put out a big article in October of last year, but he put down that I went out there to whack the Pope. I mean, he changed it around. You know what I'm saying? He changed it around. Like, he basically said that I went there with a squad to kill the Pope. No, I didn't go there with no squad to kill the Pope. Then he said we partied after that. He changed the story around quite a bit. But everybody got the gist of the idea. Now people look at me like I killed the friggin' Pope. I mean, I did. But that was back in October.
Now, Hux told me I have to get the story about this African drug lord.
Tobanga Kamalafi. Oh, what a fucking deal this was. Man, I will tell you. When I came out of the service, I still owed them time.
Okay.
Because I signed up. I was going to stay in the military. But when they decided to give the country back to the Viet Cong, I blew such a fit that I said, if it was up to me, I'd blow this whole fucking country up. It'll be glow in the dark at night. They'll call it Anthony's parking lot. Next thing I know, the next day, Da Nang, the Trang, Cam Bay, and home. What? They thought I was nuts. I go to the D.C. Memorial Hospital, and they put me there with the psychiatrist. I mean, I screwed this guy's head up all the way around the board. He's saying, oh, there's my friend William in the back. Oh, hi, William. Meet my friend Tommy. Oh, yeah, I got my horse. I got a motorcycle out there. Oh, yeah, I tied my horse to your motorcycle. All this crazy shit. This guy had a file on me this big. Thought I was totally nuts. Thought I was going to go in. So what happened? Captain Emil Bass, Master Sergeant Hans L. Forcine, who now, Captain Bass is a colonel, and Hans L. Forcine is a major, and my friend Mr. C, who everybody's trying to find out who he is, but I let them all guess because I got reasons why. Anyway, they come in, they talk to the psychiatrist, and I tell the guys, I said, listen, you didn't have no guy in the back of the friggin' room over there, and I didn't either. Number one. So number two, you didn't have no motorcycle, and I didn't ride no fucking horse over here. And number three, the thing with your watch on your ankle, the reason why, because in psychiatry school, they teach you can't go like this, because if you get somebody that's nuts, they'll attack you. So they keep the watch on their ankle. When they cross their leg, they can glance at the watch. So Mr. C says, get your stuff. He says, we're getting out of here. No, you ain't leaving. He says, he's getting out of here now. They deleted the file. They shredded the file, and I went home. Now, I owed them time. Like he told me, he says, you're home. I'll protect you, but when I call you, you come. I got you until 1990. I said, what? He goes, I don't care what you do. Shylock, bookmakers, I don't care if you fucking kill anybody. When I call you, you come. It's okay. Now, everybody in the diplomat knew this. All the wise guys knew this, that, they said, I said, it's the government. They want me to, okay, fine. They didn't give a shit, man. I'm still doing my rackets and everything. P.S. I get the call. And I go and see him. I said, what's going on? He goes, you got to do me a favor. What? You got to go to Nigeria. What the fuck am I going to do in Nigeria? He goes, there's a guy there, Tobanga Kamalafi. He goes, there's two of them. There's Tobanga Kamalafi Jr. You're going to kill Tobanga Kamalafi. I'm going to what? He goes, listen to me. The guy is a drug dealer. He's sending a ton of drugs into the United States, heroin and everything. He goes, you're going to go there. You're going to pose as a drug dealer. He goes, you got to do this for me. I said, okay. He goes, round up some of your guys. I went to Marco Island and got some of the guys that were in the service with me. And he says, here's what you're going to do. He goes, you're going to pose as a drug dealer. When you got the right opportunity, you kill him. He says, I don't want you to shoot. You kill him. Make sure he's dead. I said, okay. I said, what's the story? Nigeria, it turns out, if you know anything about Nigeria, they have gold, silver, diamonds, and they got oil. And guess who gets it? United States.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was stopping it from coming in because he was doing the drugs. So I go down there with a couple of guys and they give me cash. I go around and I'm telling them, well, I'm looking at the guy, I'm from New York, blah, blah, blah. P.S. They bring me to this guy. Guy was fucking huge. He had to be 450 pounds, about 6'6". He had a head as big as a fucking water buffalo. I'm telling you, the guy had hands, was so big that, you know, with watermelon, he could actually pick up a watermelon with his hands like that with one hand. I'm telling you, the guy was fucking huge. I'm telling you, I never saw somebody big like this in my life. Comes over. He goes, what is it? What are you looking for? I'm looking for 2 kilos. He goes, you stay here tonight, anything you want. Girls, food, anything you want. But, here's the but. You're not who you say you are. Nobody ever see you again. It's okay. All night I had women all night long, food, liquor. Guy comes in the next morning. He looks at me. He goes, my friend. He goes, you big man in New York. You big man in the United States. Drug, heroin. I says, yeah. He says, well, he goes, what do you want? I said, I want 2 kilos. Try it out. Gives me 2 kilos. I give him the cash. I leave. Go back, maybe about 2 weeks later. No, my friend. I says, you know, I think I got 5 or 10 kilos off of him. Said, stuff is going good. Gives it to me. Give him the money. Back to the United States. Now we hit him up for the big one. I come back. He says, what do you want? Anything you want. I says, listen, I want 1/4 ton. He looks at me. No problem, but take us time to put it together. So he goes, you stay with me. Now, I had my guys that the way we were originally going to do it, I would have got out of the car, and then I would have, the car would have pulled up, and they would have handed me a gun and everything. We would have started shooting and kill everybody in the car. So I had it all set up. So I go to him and says, and I saw he always carried a gun and everybody. I said, I got to ask you a question. He says, what? I said, you got a bodyguard? He says, yeah. I said, he carries a gun and you carry a gun. He says, right. I said, what happens if somebody tries to kill you? I'm standing here. What do I go like this on my finger? Bang, bang, bang. I got no fucking gun to protect myself with or to protect you. No problem. Come with me. Go into the room. You name the gun, he had it in there. I looked, I said, oh, this is a gun dealer's dream. Let me tell you this place. So I turned around. I says, I want that one. It was a Colt 45 Magnum. Very rare gun. You got your gun, my friend. I got it loaded up, and I'm carrying it on this side over here. Went with this guy for 2 days, and one day now we're in the car, in the Mercedes, and I'm looking around. There's a car following me because it was my guys in the car. Now, he had a driver, bodyguard, and him. And I'm saying, I get out of the car, I can blast him, and then I'm saying, I got to figure out another way. So the bodyguard, how he used to sit, he didn't sit down like we're sitting straight. He sat sideways facing the driver so he could see me. But the bodyguard had a problem. When he left, he used to go, I go all the way down and come up. And I said, I can pull this off in the car. So I tell him a joke. I said, listen, I'm going to tell you a joke. He goes, all right, what? I said, you got a priest and you got a nun. And they're in the desert. And the camel dies. So the guy says, no, it's not the joke. Wait, the camel dies. So the priest turns around and tells the nun, I've been a priest all my life. I've never seen a woman's body, and before I die, I would like to see a woman's body. Nun gets all undressed, and the priest goes, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I've never seen that before. The nun, in turn, tells the priest, I never seen a naked man before, and before I die, I would like to see a naked man. So the priest, okay, he takes off all his clothes, and the nun goes to him, what's that between your legs? The priest says, that, my dear, is the staff of life. She goes, well, stick it up the camel's ass and let's get out of here. This guy starts laughing. He bent over. I pulled out that gun. I caught him right in the back of the head. Boom, before anybody knew what happened. I popped him. I just popped this guy. This guy's grabbing me around the neck. I put the gun to him. I had to put the gun in this hand. I'm fighting with him because he started choking me. I hit him 5 times. This guy didn't budge. But the only thing he did, when I hit him the 6th time, I must have hit someone. He went back. I put 4 more in his head, and he was still breathing.
Wow.
That's how tough the guy. When I got him, the car, we hit a pole. We hit the pole over there. My guys pulled up. I got out of the car. He was still breathing. I put 2 more shots in his head, and that's what finally killed him. Jeez. This guy was like, it was like shooting Godzilla. The guy was fucking. You know what I'm talking about? I hit him point blank like this with the gun. Because when he grabbed me this way. I had the gun on my hand like this, and I couldn't turn it. I had to struggle to get it, and I put it right, boom, boom, and I'm pressing the trigger. And I'm saying, oh, I thought I was dead. I got to tell you, I thought I was dead. But the last shot, when I got him, I must have caught him up this way, because he went back like that, and he went like that to get me. I just popped him right in the head 4 times, and he went back, and I guess he was doing like this. I said, this son of a bitch is still... The guy's got 10 shots in him. He's still friggin' breathing. Are you fucking kidding me? I got out of the car. I put 2 more in him, because I had a 14-shot clip. I put 2 more in him, got in the car, and took off. And the Tabanga Kamalafi, no more. Meanwhile, Tabanga Kamalafi from Nigeria Jr. takes over, and we get our oil, we get the gold, we get the diamonds, and we get the silver.
Wow, so that guy had his father killed with your help.
Who? No, it wasn't his father. It was his cousin.
Oh, it was his cousin. Oh, okay.
It was a cousin. But he was more powerful at the time. Now he's gone, so Junior's the boss now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, yeah, they're sick out there. They're all crazy out in Nigeria. They're totally insane.
That's wild. And tell me about the surprise you got about your father, because that was a twist I didn't see coming. I know you didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it either. I got news for you. What happened, my cousin picks me up, says, we got to go down to Pier 7. We got a meeting. It's okay. All the bosses were there. Anthony Scotto was there. Tom DeBella, Carmine Lombardoza, all the guys were there. So I'm walking on the pier, and I hear this guy, this delegate that I know, Joe Fish, he's yelling and cursing at somebody on the ship. I look up, I see it's my father. He's yelling and cursing at my father. I grabbed him, I says, hey, who the fuck are you yelling at? It's my father up there. It's the fuck, it's my father. One thing like that, I went to hit him, they grabbed me. They said, no. They said, let it go. I said, I'll kill him. He says, let it go. I'm fuming. I'm like my eyeballs are red. And let it go. I'm busting. So we go to go to the meeting, into the office. I said, listen, I forgot my cigars in the car. Let me go get them. That's all right. Meanwhile, I had them on me, the cigars, had them in my jacket pocket. I woke up. I said, Joe, let me talk to you. He said, what? I just bang, right in the face. I gave it to him. I didn't waste no time. I went to work on this guy, and I said, you talk to my father like that, knowing he's my father. What I did to this guy was a sin, believe me. Somebody goes running into the office telling them that I'm killing this guy, which basically I was. They all come running out. They jump on top of me. They're pulling me up. What are you crazy? I said, I'll fucking kill him. I said, he knows my... I said, I don't give a shit. They'd take him away in an ambulance. Carmine Lombardoza tells me, Tom DeBella tells me, he goes, don't you know? I said, what am I supposed to know, Tom? Tom was one of the bosses in the family. He said, but don't you? I said, what am I supposed to know? So Carmine Lombardoza comes over to me. He goes, Andy, don't you know? I said, what am I supposed to know? Everybody's telling me you're supposed to know. What am I supposed to fucking know?
Mm-hmm.
So they look at me and says, you don't know. I said, I don't know what? He says, go home tonight. Your father's going to talk to you. I said, Baba, he says, go home after your father talks to you. He says, you got to make this right with this guy. He goes, you almost killed him. This guy's in the hospital. You got to make it right. I go home. My father goes, come here. I want to talk to you. You know what? Let's go in the yard. I said, Pop, what the fuck's going on? He goes, how do you think we live so good? I said, you're a longshoreman. I mean, you don't want to get involved in the rackets. You're a fucking longshoreman. My father would get up at 3:30 in the morning, go down to the pier, and then he would come back later on. He goes, no. He goes, I work for the commission, the National Commission. What are you talking about? He goes, all I do is work. Oh, my father was a shooter. That's all he done. But he worked for the National Commission. I never knew this. He never wanted to be made my father. He just liked going out and killing. That was his thing. He used to go out, and they gave him anything he wanted, my father. My father had a lot they called him Top because he was tops at what he did. They called him Frankie Ray. They used to call him Quiet Frank. I said, why Quiet Frank? Because he'd come up on you, never heard a thing, and he'd put one right in the back of your head, and you'd never know it. And I found out, but then I found out later on, the New York families were trying to get, I want you with me, you belong here, you belong there. My father said, no. He goes, one of the families made a threat to my father. All of a sudden, it was the Lucchese family. They made a threat to my father. You don't come with us, you won't see tomorrow again. My father came home and told me, he says, I'm going underground. He goes, I'm going to kill every fucking one of them. And my father would have got them. It got to the National Commission. Now, you got to remember, the National Commission, these are guys from Chicago, New Orleans, You're talking about Missouri, all over, and they called a meeting. And the families in New York are in the National Commission, but they ain't the bosses. You understand? They're all bosses, but you got one bench that these are the main bosses. What they say goes. And if you don't do it, adios, you're gone. They never find you again. They turned around and they told the Lucchese family, he gets bothered, he gets touched, his family, we wipe out your whole family. Starting with you, put right to the boss and said, starting with you first. And they said at the commission, that goes for the rest of the New York families. He answers to us. You want something done, you want him to do it, you tell us, we tell him. If he wants to do it, he does it. If he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't do it. Is that part understood? Northern New York said, yeah, okay. Because they knew you mess with the National Commission, they will not think twice of having you removed permanently. They'll disband your whole family and kill all your top guys. I mean, they'll take you're the boss, your underboss, your consigliere, and all your top captains all go. Your enforcer goes, and your street boss goes. Gone. And they won't think twice about it.
And then everybody else just sort of joins other organizations and keeps running their rackets. Is that kind of how it goes?
It depends on what the commission says.
Yeah.
Either they say you could stay together and they appoint somebody, or they split you up and send you into other families. But they came down, they said this about my father, and that was it. There was no questions asked when they said this. Nobody said a word.
So you found out that your dad was the top enforcer for the commission, and meanwhile, your whole life, how old were you when you found out? Like 30?
24.
24, okay.
And then I had to make a good with this guy, Joe Fish, because I went to the hospital to see him. This guy got cash and everything. When he see me, he started pressing the button for the nurse. I says, Joe, take it easy. Dad says, listen, I'm here to talk to you. I says, I didn't know that this was a game with you and my father, because my father had FBI following him all the time. So they made it look like my father was a regular working guy. That's what him and Joe Fish did, but they were friends. Now I go to see my friend. He owned a Cadillac dealership on 86th Street. As soon as I walk in, he goes, I know you're here to get a car. You got to make it right with Joe Fish. I said, yeah. He goes, what the fuck? I said, I didn't know. He gives me the Cadillac for his cost. Joe Fish comes out of the hospital, and they had him down to Piers. So me and my cousin go down. I'm driving a new Cadillac. My cousin's driving my car, and I park it. I walk into the office, and he's talking with Anthony, and Joe Fish sees me. I said, Joe, come outside with me. I said, I have something for you. Come on, put him out. He wouldn't budge. The guy's feet were cemented in stone. He wouldn't budge. Anthony tells me, he says, go with him. He says, go with him. Don't worry about it. This guy's walking and this guy's shaking. So I got my arm around him. I said, Joe, relax. I said, I'm apologizing for what I did. I said, listen, Joe, you got to do me one favor. He said, I said, close your eyes. I got a surprise for you. This guy looked at me. I said, close your eyes, Joe. He closed his eyes so tight, he thought he was going to get it in the back of the head. My cousin brings the car up. I said, Joe, open your eyes. He wouldn't open his eyes. I said, Joe, open your fucking eyes already. Will you please? Come on. He opens his eyes. He's going like this. I says, see that? Here's the keys. That's yours. I want to apologize. The color came back into his face. This guy was like chalk white. When I gave him the key, he looked at me. I says, Joe, I didn't know this was a game with you and my father. I didn't know you did this to throw the heat off my father, because the FBI was always looking at him. I says, this is my way of apologizing to you. I says, Kyle, it's brand new. It's paid off. Your insurance is paid for the next 2 years. When it expires, tell me I'll pay it. Here's the keys. It's all yours, Joe. I really want to apologize. The color finally came back in this guy's face, and he thought he was going to get whacked right there on the pier.
This is just some poor guy who makes $25,000 a year or less.
No, he was a delegate. What,
okay.
$25,000? Hell no. He's making $100 and change, $200,000 a year as a delegate.
Okay. Delegate is...
Yeah, not $25,000 a year. Hell no.
What is a delegate? What does that mean?
A union delegate. Longshoreman's union delegate.
Okay. So he still thought he was going to get thrown in the...
He thought he was going to get clipped. He wouldn't come out of that office until Anthony told me, go with him, will you? And I could feel, I had my arm around him, I could feel him shaking. He thought he was going to get it right there on the pier.
Oh, poor guy.
He thought he was going to wind up either in the ocean or in the trunk of the car.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a hell of an apology, but he probably still walked with a limp for the rest of his life, the poor guy.
No, he was pretty calm with that after that with me. He was, because he knew I wasn't going to hurt him. Everybody knew if I give you my word on something, I give you my word. But he knew, everything is fine. But I'm going to do a book on my father also, because I got a beautiful story. My father took out a guy up in Connecticut Class act, my old man was. You just want to hear it?
Yeah.
It's in my book. My father got a call from Frank Piccolo. He's the head of the Gambino family in Connecticut at the time. They wanted a guy that they had a clip. So my father said, well, why don't you get your guys to do it? Because if my guys walk in there, he's going to know because these guys never show up there. So my father told him. My father told him what to do. He went to the commission. They came to my father. My father says, okay. My father gets all dressed up. This one night, he goes all dressed, got a suit on, top coat, hat, and everything. Goes down the cellar, comes up, said, I'll be back later. It's all right. My cousin picks him up, gets in the car, and they go to Connecticut. They go up into I've escaped me the impart. Connecticut. Went into not Norwalk, New Haven. I think it was New Haven or one of the other ones. He walks in. My cousin's waiting in the car outside. My father's all dressed with suit, top coat, hat. Walks up, sees this guy. Hey, Frankie. Hey, how you doing? Good. Hugs, kisses. How you doing? Say, yeah. Well, the guy, I got to meet somebody up here, my father tells him. Give me all the guy's got about 5 people sitting at the table with him. So they exchange niceties. The guy sits down. My father walks past him a couple of feet, turns around, and treat him right in the back of his head at the table. And he just walked right out of the place. The people down at the table, they all dove. Nobody could describe who my father was. My father just went out, got in the car, and he took off. That's it. My father, he was deadly. Quietest man you'd ever want to meet. This guy cried when Lassie went off. Believe me when I tell you. My father was in that. My father put a guy in a coma over a dog. A little, you ever see a Sheltie? You know what a Sheltie Collie is? Them little dogs?
No.
Dog's only about like this, maybe this big. Guy's coming up the block, and he's dragging the dog. He's got a wire around the neck. My father, and he hear the dog crying. My father goes, I'm out there. My father goes, oh. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, my father says, listen, I'll pay you. I'll give you a couple of $100 for the dog. I'll kill this fucking dog. The guy picks the dog up. You hear the dog screaming because the wire was cutting. My father hit this guy. Bang! Guy went right on the floor. My father says, get the dog. I got the dog. I took the wire. He goes, take the dog inside, see what you can do. So my mother was in. I said, Mom, I said, listen, the dog, because my mother was expert with animals, with dogs. She went in. I go back outside. My father beat this guy, put him in a coma. My father beat him so bad, put him in a coma, that when he came out of the coma, the guy was retarded. He didn't even know how old he was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my father beat him half to death. And the cops came, and they says, what happened? My father says, it's on my property. Put his hands on me. Oh, Frankie, put his hands on you. You had to defend yourself. It's on your property. That's it. My father put the guy, like I said, he was in a coma for about a year. No lie, about a year. They had him in a coma, feeding tube the whole bit. When he came out, they was like, blah, blah, like that. He couldn't even talk, this guy. If you told him how old are you, he didn't even know how old he was, no nothing. And my father says, good, now he's going to suffer the rest of his fucking life. Let him suffer. What he did to that dog, he said, let him suffer. My father was an animal lover to no avail. Believe me when I tell you something.
Yeah. I mean, look, people who abuse animals don't have a whole lot of sympathy in my book either. So I kind of...
No, I take after my father with the animals. I don't go for that.
You got pets?
Yeah, I have one left. I have one left now.
There's a dog?
No, it's a cat.
Cat, yeah. I got two.
That's what I got left.
I got 2 hairless cats. They look like little gremlins.
Oh, yeah, I know them. Yeah, I know. They're cute. I like them.
Yeah. It's funny because people call them ugly, and I'm like,
no.
It's like my kid you're talking about here, you know? It's like my little gremlin. I don't want anybody talking about them.
People are weird.
Yeah.
People are weird. Don't even pay no attention to them.
Yeah. Hey, look,
sometimes I tell them I like animals more than people. It depends on the situation.
I mean, it seems that's pretty clear given your line of work. Like, you can't really get attached to people, but probably nobody ever put a hit out on a pet.
See, but what I always said, an animal gives you unconditional love. It always gives you unconditional love. Just feed them, give them water, and let them go in the yard or walk them. Even when you abuse them, they still give you unconditional love. People will kill you in a second and stab you in the back. I've seen it happen more than once. What do you read book 2? You're going to find out about a lot of guys who stabbed their family in the back and they got whacked. Oh, yeah.
I read a little bit about that after the Lufthansa heist, which people can find out about in your book and in the podcast. We don't have to get into that here, but you had to take out some guys because is it because they were spending too much money? It's like people they get moneyed up and they start spending.
I didn't take nobody out.
You didn't.
Anything I did, I didn't kill nobody on the street. I didn't kill nobody on the street. Oh, no. What happened with Sally Burns was years ago where I paid my dues for that. When I was in Nam, that's something different. But I didn't kill nobody on the street now. There's no statute of limitations on that.
That's true. I know that some guys were taken out by other people for overspending when they get too much money.
Overspend. Well, a lot of them were killed by unknown people. Let's put it that way. Mainly for overspending, for showing off, for bragging about it. Like Marty Krugman. Marty Krugman he was legitimately on television years ago. His real name is Marty Krugman. They call him Maury in the movie. And he runs his fingers through his hair and goes, hard to believe on ball, and he used to jump in the pool. That guy was real. His name was Marty Krugman. Marty had a Shylock business and a bookmaking business. But Marty spent more than he made. So he used to go to Jimmy Burke and he used to borrow money from Jimmy Burke, and Jimmy would charge him the interest. He would Shylock him. Marty Krugman brought the deal to Lufthansa to Jimmy Burke. Jimmy Burke brought it to Paulie Vario, who was his captain. That was the Lucchese family. They're trying to figure out how to do this heist. So there's a meeting. I got called into the meeting with them all, and guys are coming up with ideas. One guy's idea was fucking brilliant. We're going to come there with a helicopter, run the cables down, bring it into the office, put it on the safe and pull it out, and with the helicopter, we're going to take off. And they're going, yeah, that's good. And I say, excuse me. Oh, let the kid talk, because I was the youngest guy. He says, it's a bad idea. Guy gets up, why do you fucking know? I says, let me explain, let me talk. I says, you're in an airport. Where are you going? So everybody looked at me. I says, you're in an airport. How long do you think it'll take jets to come over here and shoot you out of the sky? 2 minutes? So they looked at me. I said, and then the security that they have there? I says, it's impossible. They all looked at me, and the guy goes, yeah, the kid's right. I know I'm right. Another genius. We're going to come in with an armored truck, crash through the wall, grab the safe. Whoa. You're going to go with an armored truck? You crash through the wall with an armored truck. Do you know how much security they have in there? They have armored trucks in the airport all over for security. You're never going to get out. Now, Paulie Vario, he's pissed because everybody from all the other families, they couldn't come up with no good ideas. So Paulie says to me, he says to my cousin and me, he says, can you think of an idea, Anthony? He goes, I mean, you spent all that time overseas. I said, listen, the only thing I can think of, I got one guy I can go see. He goes, who? I said, I'll go see Meyer Lansky. Why are you going to go see him for? I said, if he can figure out, that's the guy that'll put it together. I shoot down to Florida. I go to Meyer's house. He's off of Collins Avenue. He says, hey, wait till I said, all right. I said, Meyer, he goes, what's the story? I told him the story is $6 million. He goes, $6 million cash? He goes, stay another day or two and relax. I relax, had some fun. You go back, goes, I'll be up the day after. Comes up the day after. He goes, come on, let's get together. Me, him, Jimmy Burke, and my cousin Mac, we get in the car. Me and Meyer sit in the back. We go to the airport. I said, there's the terminal. Well, look, here's the funny part. Outside of the terminal, outside the office rather, there's 2 steel containers about this high. 2 of them, like say 3 feet by 3 feet, next to one another. Big, yellow sticker on it with a big check mark in them, both of them. Sitting there with a chain around the both of them. Meyer goes, there's something in there. That's what he's talking about. He goes, listen to me. Those 2 containers, there's something in there. He goes, let's see if they're still there. Meyer goes back. He starts putting the plan together. He comes back in. They go back. Steel containers are still there. He goes, I'm telling you, Anthony, there's something in there. Goes back. Comes back a month later. Go down. They're still sitting there. He goes, I got the plan. Now we got everybody together. A couple of guys from the Gambino family, the Bonanno family, the Lucchese family, main guys from the Colombo family and the Lucchese family. Then the main guys, the Genovese family guys are there. But Meyer gets 3 crews. One goes into the office to take the $6 million. One works on one container. One works on the other. Now we got it set up. Everything will go from there. It goes into 2 other cars. That'll go on the road. That'll get transferred to 2 other cars. 2 other cars gets transferred to me, right down to my club. The score goes off. Now, here's what I want to say. When I originally told this story, a lot of the publishing houses, you're full of shit. Meyer Lansky was never in New York in 1978. Well, guess what? The girl who wrote it for me, Lisa Pellitzer, got the FBI reports. Meyer Lansky was in New York in 78 at the times I said he was. So you know what I say to those publishing houses? Fuck you. Sorry, but I got to say that because now they all wanted the book now. Oh, yeah, I don't want to be bothered. P.S. Now understand what I'm going to tell you. They have surveillance pictures of us, correct?
Yeah.
In and out of the airport 3 different times, but yet the score still went off. You figure that one out. Now, there was $6 million in cash, okay, inside. $5 million in jewelry that we got for the jewelry, $5 million. $30 million in bearer bonds in the other one, with the manifest of everybody who owned it, all scheduled to go to Germany. The bearer bonds were hot, so we never heard nothing about it. You know, Meyer Lansky said, the crooks robbed the crooks. We're crooks, they're crooks. They're crooks, they robbed it, we robbed the crooks. That stuff was slated to go to Germany to get moved there, like to get sold or whatever in Germany, and then the people back here, we lost our bonds, and then the insurance pays them again.
It had to be, because you would never keep that much in a container sitting at the airport without people around it. You keep it in a bank vault.
But the manifest was there. It was going to Germany.
Yeah. I mean, if it was legit, it would never be sitting there like that. There's no way.
And there would have been guards around, but they did it nice. But it was always outside the office, and especially with the jewelry. Talking $5 million in jewelry.
That's
a lot of jewelry,
insane.
my man.
That's a lot of jewelry for $5 million. I mean, was it loose stones or was it like ready-made stuff?
Listen to me. That was our end.
Oh, wow.
That was our end. We got $5 million. You gotta remember, when we did the score and the score went off, I brought the money down to Meyer. I drove down with my car. I brought him the cash, and I had the jewelry with me. Our end was $5 million. I brought back up to New York. After I gave Meyer his end of the $6 million. I brought the jewelry. Meyer fenced it. And I got in book 2 who we fenced it to and everything. And it was done. And I come back to New York with $5 million. I'm sorry, with $5 million. Then I bring the bearer bonds down to him. He got 85 cents on the dollar. On the freaking dollar. I'm driving back up. I got like about 22 million, 25 million in the car. I took out the back seat of my, I ripped out, I had a Buick what's it called? It was like the Grand Prix, but it wasn't Buick Grand National.
Mm-hmm.
I took the back seat out. I ripped out the springs and the stuff, and now you just got the material. I piled all the packed stacks of money like this. Made it look like the seat. I was working on it for a day and a half. Tightened everything up, sewed it in, fine. Now we got more money left over. Where the fuck am I going to put it? So my cousin goes to me, let's open the trunk. Open the trunk. And back then I had the big spare tire. I take up the spare tire, throw the cash in there, we had it wrapped up, put the tire, meanwhile the tire's sticking up about this much. It's okay. I said, but we still got maybe another $500,000 over here. I throw it in the tire real well. Throw it in, put the cover over it. Now we're driving back to New York. I tell my cousin, if we get pinched, they're going to take the money out of the trunk. Then they're going to go through the car and says, we're going to be dead. They're going to whack us. So what we did, we drove during the day. When the nighttime came, we found these little motels where you could pull your car right up to the door.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin would go in, sleep for about 4 or 5 hours. I'd be in the car. He'd come out. I'd go in 4 or 5 hours. Boom, back in the car. Back to during the day. We took our time doing it. We did it in 2 days. We took our time. Came back to New York. Went into Honey's lot on Cattle Street. Took all the stuff out of the car. When they knew that we were there, all the bosses came down in person, and the underbosses to get their end. They didn't send their guys down like they did with the money from the jewelry. They all came in person to get all that money.
Because it was too tempting for the under guys, or what? Sure, they just wanted to see it?
Yeah, sure. You talk about, I got almost $25 million over here we brought back. And the bosses got their end. Every boss was happy. The only one who put up a stink, and I loved him dearly, was Paulie Vario. Why the fuck we got to give him any money? Blah, blah. I said, Paulie, first of all, you don't understand. He put the squad together. Without him, it would have never went off. And he's been fencing everything. I said, look what he's getting us. You're talking 85 cents on the dollar. That's unheard of. But these guys are afraid of Maya. That's why they gave him 85 cents on the dollar. I said, look at the jewelry. I mean, you're talking $5 million cash we got here, plus 6 from there. Paulie, who's got it better than anybody over here? Paulie, I loved him dearly, but he was a greedy fuck. Paulie was greedy. He could squeeze a quarter and make the eagle cry blood. Listen to what I'm telling you. Paulie was fucking greedy. But you know what? In the end, he was still happy with what he got because he got the lion's share of it. Just the lion's share went to the Colombos and the Lucchese's. And everybody in the family that participated, they got a fair share. They were all happy with it. Not one of them complained. But then I heard this guy on TV that they took him to the court, Vinny Asaro, that he said he was the mastermind to Lufthansa. I laughed when I heard that. I really laughed. He went to court. They tried him. They found him innocent. He said he was the mastermind of Lufthansa. He only got $600,000 for his end, and he blew it at the track. Now, that was like, 2-3 years ago? He was like 82 or 83. I said, the guy's got to be senile.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was nowhere near being the mastermind to Lufthansa. And if you, let's say, pretend you was the mastermind, you only got $600,000 and you blew it at the track, you're a moron.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, $600,000 never happened. But whatever his reasoning was for saying it, maybe he wanted to go out in his last days with a big hurrah or whatever. But the jury found him innocent. So what does that tell you? It was no credibility.
What's it like becoming a made man? Like, what is the process like?
That I won't discuss what the process is.
That's fair.
That I won't. I may do a lot of things, but I won't say. I will tell you this. You go, you take an oath. There are bosses, there's captains there, and the boss of the family. I'll leave it at that. But actually, as to the actual procedure, no, I won't give. That's the only thing I won't say. Because that was more. It may sound stupid, but that was more like sacred to us, the way we did it. Let's put it that way.
No, that makes sense. The omerta, right? The oath and everything?
Listen, 90% of the guys don't even go by that no more. This is what I'm telling you. That's all a lot. Back years ago, like I said, if things would have been the way it was years ago, I would have never wrote the book. But when you disrespect my father and my cousin and all of us, and then you're, now screw you, I wrote my book. But one thing, I never testified against anybody in court. Nobody ever went to prison on account of me. Nobody ever went to prison on account of my book or anything. So they could say, oh, he's a rat, he's this bullshit. I never testified against anybody. I never gave information on it. No, nothing. Everything I've done is in my book. And that's all there is to it. Meanwhile, they're all writing books all over the place, please. And they want to make it sound like they're all priests. Meanwhile, they put all the other rackets aside and they deal in drugs. I always told the guy, one of the reasons I went out was too because they wanted me to take over a drug crew. And I said, I'm not going to do it. You have to. No, I don't have to do it. I don't want to do it. If I'm going to kill a man, I'm going to kill him. Period. I'm going to kill that man. I'm not going to kill his whole family. You get a guy with drugs, you're killing his whole family. The guy gets hooked, he's going to rob his family, his mother, his father, his wife. You know what I'm saying? You're destroying the whole family. I'm no angel. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've changed my life around. Don't get me wrong. But I was no angel. But I never dealt with drugs. No drugs, no kiddie porn, no nothing like that. And I never dealt with legitimate people. I always dealt with people who were in the same line of work I was. Because legitimate people don't understand what could happen.
So basically, if I'm just a normal guy and I'm doing my business, you don't say like, "Look, I'm coming after you," none of that, because I'm outside the business.
If you're doing illegal stuff, you got a legitimate business, and you're a little shady. Oh yeah, I'm going to put the squeeze on you. But you're 100% legit. Like you're a working guy. You go to work every day, take care of it. I'm not going to mess with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mess with you at all. You just open up a business and you're working 9 to 5 to make your business go, and you're not doing nothing shady. I'm not going to mess with you. Not at all. I find out now you got a business, but on the side you're doing something else, whether it be hot cigarettes or whether it be swag. You're doing something illegal. and you're in my area, I'm going to come down on you. Say, hey, you know, in my area, let's sit down and talk. Now I want an end. But if you're a 100% legitimate guy, and there's been a lot of guys that I met that were truthfully, strictly 100% legitimate, told them, I'll be your friend. If I can help you, I will, but you can't be around me because you got to have that envelope every week, and I don't want to know nothing.
Now, I know that can we talk about your terminal illness? Are we able to talk about that at all?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. So you're suffering from a terminal illness, and I mean, do you feel like you've lived a full life? You got a lot of stories, man. A lot going on.
well, I still go for treatments. So the treatments keep me going with the cancer. I mean, the cancer goes down into remission and then it comes back up. It's called a reoccurring cancer. What it is you could get treatments and it'll go away for maybe 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, a year. Then it comes back again. But what it does, it clings onto a part of your body inside and just starts growing. So how it killed you is it just keeps growing and pushing everything out.
Mm-hmm.
But it originally started out as medullary thyroid cancer, which everybody said, oh, if you get cancer, that's the best one to get. Yeah, okay. I had medullary thyroid cancer. 30 days later, they had to go and take my lymph nodes out because they found cancer in my lymph nodes. So that wasn't the best cancer you could get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it just progressed. Like now my blood level is like usually 10.4. It should be like 14 or 15. Mine's always 10.4. I'm taking vitamin B12, super vitamin B. I take a whole load of vitamins every day. And all my doctors say, I don't know how to figure walking. I said, I'm walking. I said, I'm not. I make them live. I said, I ain't dying yet. I said, because I wouldn't give half these son of a bitches that I know the pleasure of saying, look at him. He couldn't take no money. He died. So I want to see them dead before me. I gotta stay around. Truthfully, it's a struggle every day. I've had 4 ablations on the heart for atrial fibrillation. Yeah, I had 4 of them. My doctors are fantastic, believe me. The first doctor I had, he was a bit of a fucking shoemaker, let me put it that way. But Dr. Reddy, the guy's a genius. He did the one side of the heart, and then he did the last one he done on me was 6 hours. And that's unheard of. And a 6-hour ablation, that is unheard of. I mean, compared to what I was, it's like I'm like a totally different person. I still got some problems with it, but, to be expected. What is it from? Could be from the cancer. It could be from my blood levels. It could be whatever, you know what I'm saying? But one thing I do remember, my father always used to say, you pay a price for everything you do in this world. My father always said that. My father died, he had esophageal cancer. 6 months before he died, he did his last piece of work, I want you to know, with a friggin' feeding tube inside of him. My old man was tough, but he was something else. So now when I look at what my father said, I look at it, I'm getting paid back for things I've done.
I wondered about that. I wondered if you felt like this was some sort of, I don't know if you want to say like God punishing you or making you sort of pay the piper for some of the way you lived.
Basically, it's like I said, I'm paying for what I did. Like as my father said, you pay a price for everything you do in this world. Anything I've done, nobody twisted my hand or twisted my arm and said you had to do it. I did it because I wanted to. I wanted to be a gangster. I wanted to be with the wise guys. I wanted to do it. So this is my price that I'm paying. Now, everybody says, why did I leave? All right, why did I walk away? You can't. Yeah, you can walk away because a lot of guys did walk away. Because I'm not going to take orders from a 22-year-old friggin' kid. I'm a made man. I'm an enforcer. All right, so if you know what that is, that puts me that if anything happens in the families, let's say like the boss dies, the underboss goes over, the consigliere moves up, somebody else, and I keep going up. I don't take no shit from no 22-year-old kid that never, what, because he's your nephew? Or what, because you're banging his sister? And you think this kid's going to give me orders? Goodbye. And I went with my uncle Danny Salenti. Well, he's not my uncle. He was my cousin, my grandmother's cousin. He's with another family, and there was a little bit of a beef about it. And I told him, they're going to come after me, it's fine. I'll go to ground. So the smart ass who said, we'll come for you. He said, what does that mean you go to ground? It means I'm going to go into hiding, and I'm going to find every one of you and kill every one of you. I said, that's what it means when you go to ground. I said, you want to try me out right here, right now? I told the guy, I said, because I'll take your heart out right here and now. The guy looked at me, and he says, yeah. I said, make a move. Give me a reason to take your head off right now, because I'll rip your eyes out. The first thing I'll do, I'll rip your eyes right out of your head. Give me a reason. I said, don't think that because you think who the hell you are, you're a little younger than me, you're going to boss me. I said, that's not going to happen. And then and that's what I did. I went someplace else to another family. And then I seen things were changing there when everybody started dying. I said, you know what? It's not worth it no more. This ain't worth it anymore. It's nothing like it was when I was growing up. Nothing like it at all. It's like a difference between day and night. It doesn't even resemble anything. You'll have all these guys that'll talk, yeah, blah, blah, blah. They're all full of shit. They're all full of shit because, you know what? I never seen one guy go and do anything by himself. He's always got to take 2 and 3 and 4 guys with him. In my day, you went. The most you did, maybe you took a guy to drive you. And there was another made guy. Otherwise, you went by yourself, you did what you did, and you came home, and that was it. Over and done with. You went home, you went to sleep that night, and everything was over and done with. These kids nowadays, you can't trust none of them. Everybody says, you can't. I'm 66. I'm going to be 67. The kids in their 20s, 30s, 40s, even in their 50s, I call them kids. You can't trust them. They're just coming up. Half of them I don't even know because I never met them. And the ones that I do know, they got in because, like I said, their uncle was somebody, so the uncle brought them in and made them. Well, what did he do to prove that he's made? What did he do to prove that he should be a made guy? That he should be a member over here? Oh, because he's your nephew? Doesn't work. To me, it doesn't work like that. That's not the way it is. And all the old timers that are dead, like my uncles, they must be spinning in their graves. Because if they were alive now, see what happened over here now, my grandfathers, they would probably wind up whacking out every one of them. It doesn't work that way.
Do you ever feel bad about shaking people down or beating people up or any of this stuff? No?
No. Anybody that I ever messed with was in the same line of business I was in, or they were doing a lot of illegal stuff. No, I never felt bad about it. It was business, not a personal. You never make it personal. It's always a business thing because businesses make money. I'm here to make money. I mean, you come into my neighborhood. I have a particular area. Now, you come in and you open up a gambling parlor. All right, fine. You're not giving me an end. You're in my territory. You're not giving me an end. Oh, that's a big mistake. I'm going to come and see you, and I'm going to tell you, listen, and I'll talk to you nicely. Look, this is my area. You're in here. A couple of weeks, whatever. Okay. What's my end? Oh, I don't get an end? No problem. You sure? Yeah, okay. By the time you have the next night, I'll make sure the whole place got busted up and you end up in the hospital. Now, if you're smart, you say, Anthony, what are you looking for?
Right.
I'm looking for 1/3, or I'm looking for 25%. But you're in my area, remember. It's not that I'm going into an outside area. You're in my area where I'm operating. So that's my area. You're coming in there without even telling me. It's not right. You don't do that.
Do you have any regrets?
The only regrets, truthfully, that I have, really, is what I put my mother and father through. That and my animals that died. That I couldn't save my mother and father, and my pets that I had, that I couldn't save them and make them live longer and cure them up. Otherwise, those are the only regrets I got.
I'm looking forward to having you back on the show when book 2 comes out, when your documentary comes out. This has been super entertaining, informative. I really appreciate you coming in, man. This has been great. Next one we'll do in person.
Yeah. Like I said, you got the number. Anytime you want to speak to me, there's no problem. Hopefully, book 2, I'll have it out by sometime next year.
Great. Good. Well, have a great day, and thanks again for your time and for your stories. It's been a great hell of an episode.
My pleasure. It's been a pleasure meeting you.